Oh, yeah, what's up? It is hump day, and it is the Vegas Take. Sharp and Shapiro, glad you could join us on a Wednesday. Impeachment hearings are on, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to get to that coming up in just a few minutes. And coming up here, talking a little bit about Stephen Miller. Is he a Nazi? Well, we think he is. We'll talk about that coming up here in a little bit. Also, audio from the man who stabbed the president, Donald Trump. Well, it wasn't exactly Donald Trump who he stabbed. It was actually the balloon of Donald Trump. We'll get to that coming up, the latest on polls. And have you heard this new lawsuit, this new Sandy Hook ruling, where now families of the Sandy Hook victims can sue gun manufacturers? This is some pretty amazing stuff here. So Bob Irwin, who wrote his own book, The Reality of Armed Self-Defense, he's also owned the gun store here in Las Vegas for years. He's going to be coming in studio, joining us, talking a little bit about that. Also, coming up in hour number 3, we'll be joined by Tim Donaghy. He is the former NBA official, some would say disgraced former NBA official, who cheated and, you know, some would say he actually fixed games. He would say he didn't, but he went to jail for that whole situation that went down with him being involved with the mob and giving them, I guess you could say, quote-unquote, tips on NBA basketball games. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And by the way, a new movie about his life just came out in the last week called Inside Game. We'll talk about that, too. And coming up in hour number 3, we'll have Fox Sports Radio's Brian Feldman to break down the Vegas Golden Knights tonight as the Chicago Blackhawks are in town. I wish Chris Chelios could suit him up. I remember back in the day the Blackhawks were awesome. Still a pretty good team today, not a bad team. And we'll also talk about the UNLV debacle last night, throwing away another game, this time against Cal, a game that they absolutely should have won. So we'll get to that coming up in hour number 3. It is Wednesday, and some of you might be saying, well, wait a second, why is Chris Wynn in studio on Wednesday? Well, guess what? You're here. Chris Wynn joining us. Chris, what's going on?
I'm doing great. What a day to come in studio, of course, with the, hey, it's being called historic. When we're talking about the live public impeachment hearings that are actually, in full view of the American people.
So Ambassador Bill Taylor is testifying right now. It's on every television around, and I got to say the testimony is very damning. This is not good.
So far, the President of the United States is not going to be happy with the outcome.
They have covered so much, particularly Mr. Taylor in his opening statement, questioned by former prosecutor Daniel Goldman to clarify more detail. I think that's very important. Taylor says his recollection is firsthand from notes of his experience on 7/26 on a Trump call. Goldman asked him, did you take notes related to most of the conversations, if not all of them? Taylor said, all of them, Mr. Goldman. That is really important because that is not secondhand knowledge. That is not thirdhand knowledge. That is firsthand knowledge. What he has described in his opening statement is absolutely a quid pro quo. There's absolutely no question about that. Bolton seems to have just as much, if not more, information than Taylor, which is why it's going to be important that Bolton testifies as well. I said this a month or two ago, and I will say it again. The issue here is not whether he will be a vote on being impeached. The issue is what they do in the Senate. The issue is, will Republicans have a backbone? After all this evidence is seen through, do Republicans care about the truth? Because if the answer is yes, and by the way, I'm not so sure the answer is yes, but if the answer is yes, then the president will not be running in 2020. We know that. This comes down to Republicans. It comes down to having a backbone and wanting to know the truth. Please give me a reason why the ambassador would lie. Please give me a reason why Vindman would lie. Please give me a reason why the whistleblower would lie. I don't care who's a Democrat. To me, that is completely academic. What's important is that they are under oath, speaking in front of Congress on a world stage, and I believe that they are telling the truth. And Taylor saying himself that he took notes of all these accounts, first-hand knowledge, not second-hand knowledge, not third-hand knowledge. And I believe as this continues, as these hearings continue, as Kent testifies, as all these others come up there, it's all going to be negative for the President of the United States. And it all goes down to this again, as I mentioned before. Do Republicans have a backbone? Do they care about the truth? So, gentlemen, where am I wrong here?
Well, here's the deal. Taylor is not some partisan, raging Democrat. Taylor is not someone who is a never Trumper. Taylor is someone that was appointed by the President of the United States. So any narrative going forward that, this is just a bunch of Democrats that have their, that look to have it out for the President of the United States is just not going to be something that they can run with. also that's coming into play here is, motivation by the president. And there's been this, the president and a lot of his cronies have gone out and said, it's about corruption. It's about handling corruption. We want to get rid of it, on a large scale. And that's been shot all to hell now, because we all now understand what the real motivation was. The real motivation was to go after a political opponent, an American political opponent, and have a foreign entity help them out with that. So, I mean, we've said that we've used the word damning as far as evidence. Yes, you're absolutely correct when you're saying that it's going to be about the backbone of Republicans and making a decision.
And one reporter that is actually in this room right now saying that a GOP just told him that they planned Jim Jordan to repeatedly use the whistleblower's name as one of the several strategies to blow up the hearings and make the media report on his identity. Be prepared for stunts. Rick Wilson, a reporter that is inside these hearings right now. One GOP congressman sitting in the opening hearing just mouthed to this reporter, boring. I could see why a GOP would consider it to be boring, because they don't want to know the truth.
So, Brian, you and JD, as well as Michael, talked about this the other day, and you brought this up. What is the positive benefit whatsoever of bringing up the whistleblower's name, right? There's nothing that's could come of anything of public exposure with him. It's not like a situation where, it's a gotcha for him. I don't think he hasn't done anything wrong. Am I out of line by saying, like, there is no good reason whatsoever that the whistleblower's name being exposed at all?
It puts him at a legitimate risk personally. It becomes dangerous for him. And we did discuss this, and in any type of court of law, his name will be dropped. I mean, people know who he is clearly, but giving it to the public, it isn't. It's just very, very counterproductive at this point, particularly for him personally.
And I think it's important that we distinguish that this is not a court of law, right? This is a political proceeding going forward. So all this, talk about, whether or not someone's, obviously they use the word conviction when it comes to the Senate, but we're not in that process yet. Right? We are right now in the House of Representatives, and this is a political deal that's going down. And it doesn't look very favorable whatsoever for the commander-in-chief.
And committee ranking member Devin Nunes, who is the biggest brown-noser you could ever imagine as far as the president of the United States, is now calling this thing a scorched earth war against Donald Trump, which is an absolute ridiculous statement. And this comes a day after we have learned that Stephen Miller is certainly 100% a white nationalist and a racist. When we look at some of the stuff that just come out, the Southern Poverty Law Center obtained emails from Stephen Miller, who, by the way, happens to be Jewish. I think that's important. I'll tell you why in a second. These emails are from 2015 to 2016 between White House senior policy advisor Miller, at the time an advisor then Jeff Sessions, who was fired, forced to resign, and then Breitbart editor Katie McHugh. The emails show both Miller's dedication to a number of prominent ideas in the white nationalist far-right circles and his determination to see them gain further exposure in the media. Now, some of these email messages show Miller's great admiration of President Coolidge, who signed the Immigration Act of 1924, which lasted as the basis of American immigration policy until major reforms in the 1960s. In April 2015, Miller joked about new additions to the Immigration Museum at Ellis Island. Something tells me there is not a Calvin Coolidge exhibit, he said. In an email from June 2015, Miller linked to an article about the Immigration Heritage Month and wrote, quote, "This would seem a good opportunity to remind people about the heritage established by Calvin Coolidge, which covers 4 decades of the 20th century." Another one of Miller's fascinations detailed in the emails seems to be with racist French novel The Camp of the Saints, which was published in 1973, telling the tale of a wave of non-white refugees who ultimately destroy French society. This is a backlog, so to speak, or a paper trail in ink of Stephen Miller, the racist white nationalist moron that he is. And this is the guy that's putting together policy.
Since when did Calvin Coolidge become persona non grata, by the way?
Chris, would you like to respond to that?
I have no idea why that. Look, I'm not some history buff when it comes to Calvin Coolidge and his situation, but are we really astounded by this as far as the revelations regarding Stephen Miller? This is someone whose general overview would give us the indication that these are, that this is his ideology, right? So I don't understand why this is anything that's surprising to us that this type of stuff would come out regarding one of the, but what's so kind of incredible about it is that we're talking about one of the president of the United States main advisors, right? Particularly when it comes to immigration and issues like that.
This is the guy that is helping to set forth immigration
Exactly.
policy. This is a guy that shared content published by white nationalist websites. The man should resign, and he should resign now because he's a disgrace to the White House, and he is a disgrace to the country. And why am I not surprised that Donald Trump loves this guy? Why am I not surprised? We're going to continue to learn more about this, and there's going to continue to be more pressure put on Stephen Miller. There's plenty of more examples I could have given. It's not just Coolidge. There's plenty of other examples I could give of why this guy is a white nationalist and a racist. And to be honest with you, I don't even want to spend more time on this guy because he's such a piece of garbage. Thank God he's not the president. But I tell you what, he's got a pretty powerful position there in the White House, and he needs to resign. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, remember that story about the Trump baby balloon and somebody puncturing it? Well, we're going to not only learn who that person is, we have some audio of this person, and should we be surprised that he is absolutely nuts and out of his mind? We'll get that audio from you coming up next. Also, the latest polls, Mayor Pete on top, baby. And is Hillary going to enter the 2020 race? That and much more coming up next. This is the Sharp and Shapiro Show. It is the Vegas Take. Chris Wynn also joining us in studio. We will take a break. We'll be back right after this. You're listening to the Vegas Take right here on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDON.
Let me ask, do you have discomfort or problems with your knee, back, or shoulder that makes it hard to live your life and do simple things like work out or even go for a walk? Hi, I'm Donna Taylor, founder of CBD Labs. If you're one of the millions that suffer with discomfort, you really need to try CBD Labs, the gold standard in CBD. CBD Labs is full-spectrum CBD, tested in FDA labs, and goes to work in just minutes. My knee and shoulder discomfort was so frustrating I had trouble moving around. So we researched CBD from the hemp plant that contains no THC and created the most concentrated CBD product available. It works so well, we guarantee it. Problem solved. So call now to find out how to get a free bottle of CBD Labs. Oh yeah, we also created an ebook on everything and anything CBD that is your free gift.
To get your free bottle of CBD Labs CBD oil, call 800-605-2712. That's 800-605-2712. Free bottles for a limited time. Call now. 800-605-2712. 800-605-2712.
Does your child love math? Do they just love math so much that once they finish their homework, they want to work on extra math problems just for fun? Anyone? If you answered no, then you are not alone. While your child may not think math is important for their future, we know better. That's because Infinity the Math Institute offers the best math tutors in Las Vegas, produces the best results at the best prices for kids of all ages. Infinity the Math Institute does it all. Does your child need prep for the SATs? Right now, SAT preparation classes in November are just $15. Fractions, algebra, geometry, decimals, you name it. Plus, Infinity offers homeschool programs, free seminars for parents and students. And whether your child is transitioning from elementary school to middle school to high school, or preparing for college, Infinity can help. Classes are filling up. Call us now to find out more. 702-768-1777. That's 768-1777. You want the best results for your child? One call to Infinity can have a huge impact on your child's future. Call now. 768-1777. Tell them the Vegas Take sent you.
At Cox Business, we know you're doing everything you can to make your business a success. That's why we go the extra mile to make sure our employees aren't just internet experts, but customer service experts as well. You deserve more than just a sales rep. And with Cox Business, you'll work with a perfect plan identifier who will help you find the fast, reliable internet plan that works for your business. You deserve more, and you can expect more from Cox Business. Switch today. Get 50 megs internet for only $95 per month with a 3-year agreement. Ends 12/31/19. Restrictions apply. Visit coxbusiness.com for details.
Are your investment dollars really going to work for you? The average Vestar Tech client gets 78% annual returns. That's right, 78% annual returns for over 2 decades with a recession-proof investment class they just started offering to the public. And for a limited time, you can begin enjoying these amazing annual returns. Call now for more info and to take advantage of 6 months absolutely free. This offer won't last, so call now at 888-88-PROFIT. Call Vestar Tech now. That's 888-88-PROFIT.
Sean Hannity, weekdays noon to 3 p.m. Now back to the Vegas Take on 101.5 FM, 720 AM. KDON.
All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. You know, I always like talking about nut jobs and loonies. There are plenty on the left and the right, so make no mistake about it. I'm not saying all the Looney Tune nut jobs are on the right that are Trump supporters. I wouldn't make that statement, but this guy certainly is a Trump supporter, and he is a nut job. His name is Hoyt Hutchinson. Hoyt Hutchinson. What a great name. Well, Hoyt Hutchinson is the guy that was in Alabama. Not a shocker. He lives in Alabama, by the way. And he is probably one of those guys that thinks if a woman has an abortion, she should go to jail for 20 years or give her the electric chair. But anyway, there was this baby Trump balloon. People were on strike outside of this Trump rally. And, well, Hoyt Hutchinson decided to take matters into his own hands and puncture this poor baby Trump balloon. And I felt horrible for the balloon. And we have a little audio. He went on this show. I've never heard the Rick and Bubba show. I don't know. I never heard of that show before. But anyway, he called into the Rick and Bubba show.
You know it's big time down in Alabama.
It's got to be big time. It's the Rick and Bubba show.
Yeah.
And so Hoyt Hutchinson, this is him, the first time anybody in public has heard this guy calling into this radio show talking about good and evil and why he decided to puncture the baby Trump balloon. Here it is.
I know I'm not young, but I'm not old. I'm kind of middle-aged, and I feel like a lot of people my age don't really keep up with the news and politics like they should. But I watch the news every night. I watch Fox News every night.
I got three teeth. I got three teeth. I live in a mobile home. I got three teeth.
You know, I see this stuff going on out west.
Stupid is what stupid
and all
does.
Over the place, and I get so mad about people not taking a stand. And, you know, they want to throw – the left wants to – kind of use religious against you, like you shouldn't act like this and stuff. But I'll tell you this, man, the devil knows the Bible just as good as we do.
There he goes.
They're going to try to twist
Bring
it
up
the
the
way
Bible.
That they
There he
can.
goes.
But
Amen.
in John chapter 2, Jesus didn't take too lightly when they were selling animals in the temple for sacrifices.
So this was your turning of the temple tables.
Yes, I mean,
Yes.
it's on the point when you've got to take a stand. We don't have two parties anymore. We have good versus evil. When you've got one party that says it's okay to kill babies, and by the way, that's the first time I've ever seen a liberal get mad about chopping up a baby.
Oh, boy.
Well, let me first.
Zinger! He's dropping one-liners.
Amen.
He went on to say, I got so fired up when I rolled by that balloon and I rolled down that window and I said something to let them know, and I figured they saw me, so I decided to put matters into my own hands and I decided to stab that baby.
JD, Brian Shapiro, the Connecticut guy, dropping the Alabama Southern accent there.
That accent is Nicolas Cage and Con Air bad.
Yes, I know, right?
Con Air.
Oh, my God.
Give me my bunny.
Cursor.
Give me my bunny. First of all, this guy sounds like he has two teeth.
Put the
But
bunny back in the box.
Forget about
Put
where he
the bunny
lives.
back in the box.
Okay, forget about where he lives. Forget about how stupid he sounds.
You
hold on.
morally corrupt people in the West and up north,
right.
man.
Let me explain this. Okay, first of all, this guy's making himself out to be some sort of hero. Okay, like he did something great because he stabbed a Trump balloon.
He actually is making himself out to be a martyr.
Yeah, he really is.
And he's mentioning, and he's referencing the Bible.
JD, somebody had to do something, right? It had to be done. It had to be done. I had to stab the fake baby.
He said it comes to a point when you got to take a stand. We don't have two parties anymore. We have good versus evil. You know, I'm so sick and tired of people saying stuff like that. You know, Eric Trump was on the Racist Witches show, Laura Ingraham, last night, and Eric Trump said the same right-wing talking points, that everybody on the right is great and everybody on the left is evil. Just shut up, okay? There are evil people on both sides of the aisle. I don't care whether there's a D next to your name or an R next to your name. Every person is different. Every opinion is different. And for this moron, who probably is a Klan member, by the way, because he certainly sounds like one and looks like one, he fits the profile. He probably wears his white Grand Wizard cape every night at dinner, thinks that showing up to a protest of people with a Trump baby, a Trump balloon baby, and puncturing a balloon, he did something so wonderful and so great that, right, he's a martyr, he's a hero. He thinks he's part of the, the Trump ISIS clan or something. I don't know what the hell this guy thinks he is, but obviously he's delusional. This is the kind of guy, I'm telling you right now, this is the kind of guy we have to worry about. These are the types of people that are going to walk into a Walmart and execute innocent people, okay? These are the types of people with that sort of mind frame.
That might be a bit of a stretch.
This is why we should have red flag laws, okay? A guy that thinks he's a martyr, that says good versus evil, that decides to puncture a balloon.
Was the balloon living?
No, but that's not the point.
Talk?
But
was the balloon breathing?
But that's not the point. When people use that sort of verbiage that he used, it shows you, number one, that he has an extremely low IQ. I think we all could agree on that.
I won't argue that.
Okay, he's an extremely dumb individual. And when Donald Trump gets on a stage and Donald Trump, say, for example, demonizes illegals, says Mexicans are rapists and bad people, and I suppose some of them are good people, somebody with a 20 IQ like this loser, like this moron, who probably doesn't have a job, who probably never had a job for a long period of time in his life, who is extremely stupid, is going to listen to the words of Donald Trump and perhaps act on them. Now, I hope I'm wrong about this guy. I hope that doesn't happen. But this is not something to entertain. This is the type of guy that should not own a weapon. This is the type of guy that I believe we should all be worried about, this extremism. And listen, don't give me this crap.
I think you're making an extremely thin connection between someone who punctures a baby and someone who murders multiple people in a Walmart with a gun.
This person is calling all Democrats evil.
That's fine.
This person...
He can have his opinion, but that doesn't mean he's going to take a gun and shoot a bunch of people at a Walmart.
Okay, but I'm not done yet. But this person is using very similar verbiage in attacking Democrats that man did walking into Texas, El Paso, into that Walmart and executing 22 people. Do I know for sure that this guy would take it to that level? I hope I'm wrong. I don't know. All I'm saying is these are the types of people that are extremely dumb that will take it to that next level. First of all, how demented are you as an individual, right, to do something like that? How demented are you as an individual to pull out a pocket knife and to burst a balloon? You have nothing better to do with your time? And listen, I'll say the same thing to those people that are protesting outside a Trump rally. It's not going to do any good. Why even show up? Just stay at home. Don't vote for Donald Trump in 2020. Stay home. I say that to all protesters. And you know, when we had Minister Stretch Sanders in yesterday, and Minister Stretch said that he was going to close down Fremont Street on Martin Luther King Day. And he said he was going to do that because he doesn't agree with the homeless new ordinance. And by the way, I don't agree with it either, but I don't agree with the way he's going about it. I don't understand these protesters. They want to inconvenience everybody else. You know? At whose expense? People like you and me, people that are going to work. Okay? So I don't agree with the protesters either.
Well, it's kind of an oxymoron.
You guys understand the reason, Brian, for the protest. It's to bring attention to an issue, right? That's the reason. There's a method of madness. There's a reason why to do it. Yeah, it's not like they're just doing it out of thin air. You know, that's the purpose of a quote unquote protest, is to draw attention to what it is they want to address.
There are ways of drawing attention without inconveniencing a bunch of people that are on the way to work. There are ways of drawing attention without being arrested. I do not support people that want to protest and think it's okay to spend our taxpayer money to be arrested, to spend our taxpayer money and hold up streets so people can't go to work, or in case of an emergency, an ambulance passing by.
Especially in a city like Las Vegas, where tourism is king and has been for a long time. When you do something like Stretch is trying to or thinking about putting together, the Las Vegas police does not F around. They will get it done. They will get it taken care of very, very quickly.
But going back to this specific issue, I think it's important to note that this guy, Hoyt Hutchinson, who sounds like a real dummy, is charged. He's charged with felony first-degree criminal mischief in relation to this slashing of this Trump balloon. Apparently he was in town for the Alabama LSU game and a presidential appearance by, of course, Donald Trump. He's not going to get any jail time, and I don't know if he has a police record. I'd like to find out about that. But what we do know is that he was charged with felony first-degree criminal mischief, and if he thinks he's some sort of martyr or some sort of hero for doing this, he's an idiot.
And we also know he does not know the difference between don't and do not. He's not very good with conjunctions. He probably doesn't have the highest IQ. But that being said, just because we all make fun of him all you want, making fun of his accent, etc. But I'm not going to just make an assumption and make a thin connection between him puncturing a balloon baby and him actually killing someone with a gun.
Well, what I'm saying is he is
because
that
of his
type.
rhetoric.
Well,
I'm not going to do that.
What I'm saying is that type of person. And what I mean by that is when you call Democrats all evil people,
I would need a lot more than that.
When
to
you're
make that connection,
when you're extremely dumb. I think it gives you a better chance of committing a heinous act than if you are a semi-intelligent person.
If you're dumb, the new red flag laws should prevent you from having a gun.
No, but I think if you puncture a Donald Trump balloon and you say dumb things and you call all Democrats evil, yes, I do think red flag laws should pertain to you. But I don't want to get into the gun.
I don't think that's enough.
I don't want to get into the gun control issue right now, but we are going to get into that coming up in hour number 2 with Bob Irwin. Who has a lot of experience when it comes to guns, and he owned his own gun store. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, why is Pete Buttigieg on top of the polls right now? He's beating Joe Biden in some situations. Why? And is Hillary Clinton going to run? We'll get to that and much, much more coming up next. You are listening to the Vegas Take 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDAWN.
Some of the opening testimony from the top U.S. envoy to Ukraine today, William Taylor, says he took notes about his interactions with other diplomats and concerns that the White House was holding up military aid to Ukraine while maneuvering for investigations into President Trump's political rivals.
I wrote that withholding security assistance in exchange for help with a domestic political campaign in the United States would be crazy. I believed that then, and I believe it now.
A top State Department official, George Kent, also testifying.
As a general principle, I do not believe the United States should ask other countries to engage in selective, politically associated investigations or prosecutions against opponents of those in power, because such selective actions undermine the rule of law, regardless of the country.
GOP leadership in the House is lashing out on Twitter. Steve Scalise calls the hearing a sham. Others complaining neither witness has firsthand knowledge. I'm Jan Johnson.
So there's this guy named Jordan.
It's time to check the roads in the KDON Traffic Center.
This report sponsored by Dispatch Health. Highway units with the accident I-15 northbound near Russell Road, slowing still from Russell to Spring Mountain, and 15 southbound delays are from the Spaghetti Bowl to Flamingo, with the accident in the mix at Flamingo still a factor on the surface streets. A crash, hit-and-run accident investigation Cheyenne at Jones. Another crash injury sustained at Jones at Vegas Drive. When you're sick, every minute counts. Go to dispatchhealth.com where high-quality medical care comes to you. Visit dispatchhealth.com to learn about medical professionals that make house calls. Dispatch Health, covered by most insurance. John Michaels from the KDON Traffic Center.
So there's this guy named Jordan, and he's a healthy guy. He's a dad of 6, and he works as a guide in Alaska. But then he goes to the doctor, and he's diagnosed with cancer, stage 4. And here's the thing. He had switched from medical insurance to MediShare, which is a Christian healthcare sharing ministry. So the question for Jordan and his wife Jenny was, is this really going to work?
Our medical bills exceeded $160,000. MediShare members shared all our bills.
And it was about more than just the money, too. This is a real community.
MediShare is a family, a group of people that stick with you through the hardest times of your life. I just don't know how I could have done it without MediShare.
It's so worth looking into. There's a reason this is growing so fast. If you want to find out more, here's a number for you. 844-91-BIBLE. That's 844-91-BIBLE. 844-91-BIBLE.
Dispatch, medevac air transport to I-90. Car on fire. Unknown casualties.
When minutes matter, and the ER is too far away, air emergency care could save your life. But insurance companies don't count your minutes, they count your money. Tell your member of Congress to fight the insurance companies.
Paid for by Alliance for Access to Critical Care.
Tuscany Suites and Casino is the place for locals to play. Every Monday and Wednesday, Tuscany is giving 11 and 7 times multipliers just for playing your favorite games. If you're not a member of the Players Club, it's easy to sign up and take advantage of all the great member benefits, including free slot play and comps to their award-winning Best of Las Vegas dining outlets like Pub 365 and Tuscany Gardens. Visit the Players Club for details. Tuscany Suites and Casino, 2 blocks east of the Strip at 255 East Flamingo.
Mark Levin, weekdays 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Now back to the Vegas Take on 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDON.
All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. By the way, a quick reminder coming up next hour. Bob Irwin, you might have known him. He used to actually do a radio show here years ago and was the owner of the gun store for many, many years. He's even written books about self-defense. What does he think about this new ruling, this new Sandy Hook ruling that allows the families of those that lost their lives to sue the gun manufacturer? You might actually be surprised what my opinion is on this, and we will get to it coming up in hour number 2. But he's wearing his hockey and taco shirt, looking very lavish in studio. It is Katie. John, your mic's not on. Turn your mic on. God, what's wrong with you? Turn your mic on. Is John's mic on? Go ahead. Talk.
Come on.
Oh, you're on now.
There
Okay,
we go.
fine. He is. I'm sorry, John. What were you saying?
I was saying it's hockey night in America.
It is. It is. But somebody in Canada will not be broadcasting tonight, by the way.
No,
they won't. All right. Well, John, what is going on in the news?
Well, there's impeachment hearings going on. William Taylor, the top U.S. diplomat in Ukraine, says a cell phone conversation his aide overheard between another diplomat and President Trump in July shows the president cares more about investigations into Democrat Joe Biden than he does about the Ukraine. Taylor told lawmakers the unnamed aide had told him about the cell phone conversation he overheard between European Ambassador Gordon Sondland and Trump on July 26th. He said he didn't know about that call when he first testified behind closed doors on October 22nd.
Yeah, and they're talking about that right now, both on Fox News and CNN. The fact that Sondland said that Trump cared more about Biden and those investigations than the Ukraine, I would say that's just a little bit damning to the president. Would you agree? It's not good.
But it's supposed to be all about general, government corruption, right? We just want to rid corruption around the globe. That was the focus.
I'm going to be honest. This is more damning than I thought it would be. And they're being very forthcoming, and I'm glad Taylor has been very forthcoming, and we're going to continue to monitor this. As you know, these hearings are going on as we speak. They're actually in a brief break right now. They'll be coming back here in a few minutes, but we will continue to monitor everything that is being covered right now in these proceedings. Go ahead, John.
Speaking of these proceedings, President Trump calling the public impeachment hearings that kicked off today the single greatest scam in the history of American politics. He's responding to the hearings with a new video directed at his supporters and released by the White House. He says in the video, filmed in the White House Rose Garden, that Democrats want to take away his viewers' guns, health care, freedom, and votes. He adds that they're trying to stop me because I'm fighting for you, and I'll never let that happen. Trump has spent the morning responding to the hearing on Twitter. He will be holding a press conference alongside his Turkish counterpart later in the day.
Sure, because I'm sure the reason why he wanted the Bidens investigated had everything to do with us. He cares about us. I agree. I agree completely.
Those tweets very salacious on those, but you can imagine yesterday. Oh, he was going off on Twitter yesterday before these proceedings even started. It was crazy.
JD, quickly, do you think the reason why President Trump wanted the Bidens investigated was because of people like you and me, because Donald Trump cares about us?
No, but I actually think that he probably was involved in some corrupt activities while he was either serving under Barack Obama or at some point when he was in Congress for the last 30 to 40 years.
Okay, but
that's why I believe he wanted to have him investigated.
But my problem with that is
obviously it doesn't look good. Even though he didn't need to do this because he was going to crush him regardless, because Biden is Trump light with less of a brain, much less charisma. I don't think he needed to do this, but yeah, I mean, there's definitely some degree of him wanting to look into his potential political opponent in 2020, but it might be Pete Buttigieg at this point, so it may have been all for naught, which would be hilarious.
Okay, well, quickly though, I would ask you, do you think he did it for you and me? Because in that video that John Schaefer was talking, or that comment that he was saying, he cares about us. He cares about us, right?
I believe he cares about the United States, and you are a citizen of the United States.
So you think he brought up...
in a way, by default, yes, you and me would be considered.
So you think he brought up Joe Biden, to be clear, with the president of the Ukraine because of us? You don't think it had anything to do with him personally?
I didn't say that.
I'm asking you. It's a question.
Well, we'll go 80-10-10.
So you think there's a 10% chance you brought up Joe Biden because of us? Okay.
No, because of... Brian, come on.
No, I'm asking.
I think there's a 10% chance that he investigated Joe Biden because he is his political opponent in 2020.
Okay, well, that's all you need to be impeached.
I think he didn't need to do this at all because he was going to crush him regardless.
Okay,
they're trying to stop me because I'm fighting for you, and I'll never let that happen.
Yeah. He's definitely fighting for us. There's no question about that. All right, Schaefer, you're caught in between this, so let's move on with the news. Go ahead.
All right, Wynn Resorts wants a judge to dismiss a former beauty salon director's lawsuit alleging company executives invaded his privacy and spied on him after he spoke publicly about sexual misconduct allegations against former casino mogul Steve Wynn. A court hearing is scheduled in December on the bid to toss out hairstylist Jorgen Nielsen's civil conspiracy lawsuit against Wynn Resorts, company chief Matt Maddox, and two former top officials.
Again, going back to this story, you're a billionaire. You have tons of money. You could get 100 top-of-the-line. I don't know what a top-of-the-line hooker would look like, but you understand where I'm going with this. If Steven wanted to, John, he could get 100 top-of-the-line hookers in his room every night. Why does he choose to get a massage and then try to get sexual favors from people that work for him? For the life of me, I don't understand it.
I don't understand why any people that have the means to hire people that will keep their mouth shut don't. Why you feel the need, other than it's a power thing. She works for me, so I can do what I want. But
if you're just looking for the sex part of it, there's plenty of people out there that'll do it and not talk.
John, for the amount
just
of
not
money,
Stormy Daniels.
Yes, true. John, for the amount of money that he paid this masseuse, I would have spent a night with Steve Wynn, and I would have done with him whatever he wanted to do with me. I would have been fine with that. Steve, go ahead, do whatever you want. Just put on a condom. I mean, I would have been. Does that make me a horrible person? I don't know. He spent millions of dollars for a masseuse to give him a massage, and I would assume pushing her into giving him a happy ending. I'm guessing that's what went down.
It's a Charlie Sheen rule, right? It's I didn't pay him to have sex with me. I paid them to leave, right? And to John's point where he says,
leave and be
then
quiet.
they keep their mouth shut, and then it's all over.
Plus,
done with.
Isn't Steve Wynn legally blind?
Yes.
I mean, he could have paid. He could have paid Carrot Top to go in there to give him a massage, and he would have thought it was a woman. You know what I mean? I'm just saying. I mean, I'm just saying.
Visuals in my head right now, my friend. It's hump day. Come on.
Or some male with very, very long hair.
Yeah, I
long
mean,
flowing locks.
You can't
red
even,
or brown or blonde.
Throw a wig on Brian Shapiro
or dark black.
His magic hands out
do you
there.
think?
Exactly.
Do you think it's
You just don't
possible?
know.
Do you think it's possible that if I went in there with a wig, Steve Wynn would ask me to give him a massage, and he would think I was a woman? Do you think that's possible?
I'll use
No, you don't think so?
I'll use JD's ratio there, 80-10-10 on that.
80-10-10.
Yes.
Well, listen, Steve.
I'll go 60-40.
Steve, if you need a massage down the road and you want to pay me 7 figures, I will be glad to accommodate if you happen to be listening. Because last I checked, your eyes are not as good as they used to be, but you can still hear. So if you're out there and you're listening, give me a call. I'm ready to service you. Okay, go ahead, Mr. Schaefer.
He's got to be listening on the stream because he moved to Florida.
Oh, that's right. Shoot.
The Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority doing something it's never done before, trying to lure travelers to Las Vegas during the holidays. Ads now airing in Southern California, San Francisco, and Phoenix with a Thanksgiving theme and the tagline, Vegas changes everything. The themes will shift to Christmas on Black Friday. The campaign generated because LVCVA researchers have determined that traffic on major highways leading to Las Vegas has declined in recent months.
Why is that? How is that surprises me. It's declined. What, are less people coming to town?
No, more people are coming, but I think they're flying because the airport is having record numbers.
Ah, okay, that makes sense. Well, somebody called in yesterday, John, and said if Stretch Sanders decides to shut down Fremont Street, they might as well shut down the airport if you're against this homeless ordinance.
And then Stretch said, yeah, it's a great idea.
Yeah, it's a wonderful idea.
Thank you for the idea.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's a great idea. Just don't close down the KDWN studios. That's all we ask. Close down everything else. All right.
Or you'll have nowhere to get your message out
Exactly.
anymore.
But I will tell you this. If someone was standing in front of me at the door of KDWN, I would absolutely push them out of the way and walk in the studio.
Yeah, I would say excuse me, and then if they didn't move, then I would say okay, you got to move now. I got to go to work. Yeah, that's
not
fair.
a doubt in my mind.
But the minister would push you back because he's not the typical minister. That's what he said yesterday.
Fair enough.
Right.
All right, Schaefer, who wins the Knights game tonight?
Hopefully the Golden Knights, because this 5-game skid is not fun.
It's not. Well, we would plan on going to the game tonight.
Pat Reddy is right. The honeymoon is over, and the fans are getting angry.
Alex Tuck's back out there.
Is he back?
Yes,
okay,
I've heard he's back.
That adds some depth. I'll be honest, I bet the Knights for the last 5 games. They've had a lead in the third period, and they've lost every single game.
Well, because Foley received word that you had action on the Knights.
I'm sure that's part of it.
That's
but
exactly
what
I'm
definitely better than the Knights tonight as well.
Well, Mr. Schaefer, thank you for the news, my friend. We appreciate
Certainly.
it. We will see you
Thanks
bright
a lot.
and early tomorrow.
All right.
Thank you very much. All right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, guess who's on top of the polls for Democrats in Iowa, and guess who's down to 1% in New Hampshire? It might shock you. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. You're listening to the Vegas Take right here on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM KDON.
Hi, Doug Basham here. Join me Saturday afternoons from 2 to 4, and I'll tell you what your conservative, corporate-controlled, right-wing propaganda hate media isn't. You're welcome. That's Saturday afternoons, 2 to 4. Be there.
Are your investment dollars really going to work for you? The average Vestar Tech client gets 78% annual returns. That's right, 78% annual returns for over 2 with a recession-proof investment class they just started offering to the public. And for a limited time, you can begin enjoying these amazing annual returns. Call now for more info and to take advantage of 6 months absolutely free. This offer won't last, so call now at 888-88-PROFIT. Call Vestar Tech now. That's 888-88-PROFIT.
This is Harry Jacobs from Credit Restoration of Nevada, inviting you to join me for the Credit Show, Saturday mornings between 9 and 10, here on the new 101.5 FM and 720 AM, Cato.
Looking for that perfect new piece of furniture for your home? A New Concept Furniture is the place to start and end your search. They'll beat any price on the internet, and they're here locally so you can feel what you're buying first. Go to A New Concept Furniture today at 4255 South Grand Canyon to see for yourself the slick, modern, shiny store that mirrors our shiny city. A New Concept. Check out their showroom or call them at 702-570-2240. That's 702-570-2240.
Are you ready to experience a whole new way of doing business? The Human Resources Game Changer is here. Hello friends, Jim Nance here, letting you know that Insperity is now local right here in Las Vegas, bringing you a different kind of HR service. You know, running a successful business is complicated with ever-changing laws and regulations, benefit plans, insurance. It can be downright overwhelming. Insperity helps to remove those obstacles that your business faces. Full-service HR, employee benefits, and HR software have never been so easy. Insperity has put down roots here with a team that knows what it means to be a true HR partner. They redefine everything you thought you knew about an HR company. Get to know Insperity Vegas. Finally, the HR game changer is here. Visit Insperity.com to find out more.
Hey, it's Lee Goldberg of the GCI guys at Realty One Group. Do you know anyone that's looking to buy a home, sell a home, rent, move from California? If so, give them my number, 702-902-3029. All listeners of the Vegas Take get $1,000 in your hand back at closing. Hometown heroes, veteran, military, police, teacher, nurse, I'm giving you $2,000 back. That also goes for hospitality and casino employees. Free use of a moving truck for a day, 6 free months of home security. Call me, 702-902-3029, the GCI guys.
Steve Sanchez, weekdays 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Now back to the Vegas Take on 101.5 FM, 720 a.m. KDON.
All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. So glad you could join us on a Wednesday. Chris Wynn also in studio. Bob Irwin, longtime owner of the gun store, will be joining us coming up here at the top of the hour. Going to talk a little bit about that Sandy Hook ruling, which it's very important. Let's be very clear on this, and we'll get more into detail with it, and I'll give you my thoughts, my opinions on it. You'll hear from all of us coming up in hour number 2, and we will also take your calls in hour number 2 as well. So I've said from the beginning of this race, with all these Democrats on this stage, I said the one person that I can support, the one person that I like and I really admire, I don't know if he would beat Donald Trump, and I'm not saying that, but the one person that I would 100% vote for is Pete Buttigieg. And the reason why I've said that, for a number of different reasons, and trust me, folks, it has nothing to do with his sexuality. I could give two craps about that. Here's why I like Pete Buttigieg. I like him because, number one, I think he's extremely intelligent. Number two, I think he's extremely well-spoken. Number three, and this might be the important one, he's fairly moderate. He's not a crazy lefty loony like some people want to say about Joe Biden and others. I think he is very logical, very fair. While he doesn't think you should be getting $15 an hour for minimum wage, he does say, let's bump it up a few dollars. While he doesn't think that you should get an abortion, in the 8th month, he is in favor of women choosing for themselves on what to do. While he doesn't think that all your AR-15s and your assault weapons should be banned and they should be confiscated, he does believe that we need to do something in regards to red flag laws and mental illness. And he's not one of those people like Elizabeth Warren who thinks we should just tax everybody on this new health care plan. He has specific plans put in place, and he says how we are going to get there. And that is what I appreciate about him. And yes, he does believe that the top 1%, as Bernie Sanders would say, should be taxed a little bit more. But like I said, he doesn't have some of those extreme views that others like a Bernie Sanders would have on the stage. And that's why I like the man. I like him. I like somebody that is more to the middle than way to the right or way to the left. And that's why I've always supported Pete Buttigieg. Now, I've also said because he is gay and because he's come out as gay, there are many people in this country that would probably not vote for him for that reason. Now, I never thought Barack Obama would win. And the reason why I didn't think Obama would win, sadly, is because there are a lot of people in this country that are racists that would not vote for someone based on the color of their skin. And I still feel that way. I am still amazed, and I'm glad, but I was amazed that people did vote in Barack Obama twice. I still feel that way about Pete Buttigieg. The fact that he is a homosexual, the fact that he came out, and by the way, I think it took a lot of guts for him to come out and be honest with his sexuality, especially in this day and age. While it might be more accepted now than it was 2 years ago, 10 years ago, it's still difficult, and people look at him differently.
I think it helps him out a lot. I think it separates him. I think he's the one homosexual candidate.
So you think he's actually going to get more votes because he came out gay?
When you think Pete Buttigieg, what do you think?
Well, you were out of the studio. I just said what I think about him. I just gave you 7 or 8 reasons why I like him. And
no, but I'm saying he's branded. He's known as the candidate who came out as a homosexual.
I understand.
Right.
So what's your question?
That's going to help him.
I completely disagree
because
with you.
He stands out. And in today's day and age with media and with how fast information travels, standing out is key.
Okay, but let me ask you this question.
Always.
Then. I disagree with you. Let me ask you, when you stand out, that doesn't necessarily mean that more people are going to vote for you because you're gay. So you're telling me that you believe that as the majority of people in the United States of America, you think more people are going to vote for him than not vote for him because he is gay?
Yes, I believe that.
Do you agree with that, Chris? Because I don't agree with that.
I wouldn't agree with that. I think there's still a stigma out there among a big part of the electorate, particularly on the right here in this country. And I think, JD, you'd agree. I think it benefits him being from the Midwest. I think that's a big thing as far. And look, that's in my opinion. That's a big reason why. That's a big reason why he is leading in Iowa. Because I think we're not talking about the entire country as far as him getting the Democratic nomination.
I think he's going to
we're
lead.
Just talking about one state.
I think he's going to lead in states similar to Iowa under those circumstances. But I'm not talking about. Let's say he wins the Democratic primary and goes up against Donald Trump or Joe Walsh or whoever the Republican candidate would be if Donald Trump were to get impeached, which apparently you believe he's going to. By the way, who do you think will be the Republican candidate if he does get impeached, Brian, in 2020?
Well, first of all, can Pence run? I believe he can,
Absolutely.
right? Yeah,
and it would probably be Mike Pence.
But it would put a black eye on Pence. I don't think that Pence would be the guy.
I don't think anybody believes Bill Weld is going to be the one that's going to grab
obviously Joe Walsh has no chance. But so who?
Pence would win.
We should come up with a list of. You think he would win the nominee?
Yes,
for sure.
Well, we're kind of getting away from what we're talking about here, which is Pete Buttigieg.
The reason why,
and Brian brought it. Look, you brought it up.
But I think that
I don't think in America, as of today, America is ready for a person in the White House and then a first husband. I just don't. I look and hey, I think 4 years from now it's a very real possibility. But as of
I agree.
The 2020 election, I just don't see it happening.
I think that this helps Pete Buttigieg as in getting to the Democratic primary nominee. I think this helps him with the primaries.
Right,
I don't think this necessarily helps him against a Republican like Mike Pence, although it might because they're so polar opposite of each other. But I do believe that it helps him win the Democratic primary. I think he gets more votes than he loses in the Democratic primary.
There's a reason why we're talking about Pete Buttigieg, and let me explain. He is on the top of the list in Iowa. Mm-hmm. He has the highest. He has passed Joe Biden as the Democratic frontrunner in Iowa, which is incredible. And here's something else that's incredible. And by the way, we've tried to get Kamala Harris on the show. Maybe the reason why she's doing so poorly now is because she's not doing enough interviews. I don't know, but that's her problem.
That's very possible.
Kamala Harris is at, guys, you're not going to believe this, 1% in New Hampshire. This is a woman that was one of the front runners not that long ago, several months ago. Remember when she went after Joe Biden on that first debate stage? She was the front. People were saying, that's it. She's going to win the nominee. 1% in New Hampshire. Why, guys? Why?
What is the African-American population in New Hampshire?
I have no idea. I don't have that in front of me.
Well, the writing's on the wall of Kamala Harris, and you guys brought it up last week. She is looking at a VP situation, in my opinion. I think she's going to be someone that's going to be second on the ticket for whoever the nominee is in the Democratic Party. And as of right now, Joe Biden is the front runner, and that'd be something that would be absolutely feasible, in my opinion, that Joe Biden would enlist her as a number 2.
See, I still think that Joe Biden is probably going to be the guy facing Donald Trump. I'm not sure Donald Trump is going to be
He's
running.
Still leading nationwide.
Yeah.
So you're talking about one state, Iowa.
I understand, but I'm just saying I give him kudos. I give Pete Buttigieg kudos for doing very well in Iowa, and he's doing better in the national polls, by the way. He was like 6th or 7th. He's moving up the chain, and I think it's because he resonates with a lot of people. He does. He resonates.
He's still polling in single digits, though, around
some
the
states,
country.
yes, but he's still doing better now than he was, say, 2 or 3 months ago. He is.
Yeah.
He's polling better. And I think that will continue. And whether that makes him a vice presidential candidate or not, I don't know.
But to JD's point, though, I don't think his homosexuality is something that would propel him, right? It's not. Look, I think we look at it as something that he is, right, and that he embraces. And I would like to think that it's not a hindrance, JD. But we know this. There's a segment of a large segment of the population in this country that are just not down with it.
Obviously, evangelists are not going to even think about.
Let me be very clear on that.
I get that, but we're not worried about. He's not worried about that. Trying to become the Democratic nominee. I think being a homosexual helps him trying to become the Democratic nominee.
What do you mean he's not worried about becoming the Democratic nominee?
I'm saying he doesn't have to worry about the Republican Party.
Because he's just trying to
right, exactly.
He's trying to get the Democratic nomination.
Yes,
the Republicans and people on the right in this country, he's not really concerned about them right now.
Why would he be concerned about them?
Well,
because he's trying to become
I'll answer that.
the Democratic nominee.
Okay, I'll answer that.
And I think being homosexual helps him achieve that.
Okay, I'll answer that, but let me be clear on something first. And this is my belief. If you are against gay marriage, that's fine. If you are against the homosexual lifestyle, that's fine. If you're Mike Pence, that's something completely different, because I think Mike Pence and his wife are hateful people.
Oh, he's over the top.
Now, let me be clear on this. If the only reason you wouldn't vote for somebody is because they are gay, then you are a bigot as far as I'm concerned. And I'm saying if that is the only reason. If that's, I don't like the fact he's homosexual because I'm against gay marriage, but I don't like him for these other reasons, fine. That's different. But if you're one of those people, and trust me, there are many people that talk Bible nonstop that would not vote for this man for that specific reason. Make no mistake about it, you are a bigot. I don't even want you in society. You don't look at Pete Buttigieg as an equal because he is gay. And then you got Klobuchar.
What do you mean you don't want them in society, Brian?
If you are,
that's a very aggressive statement.
Okay, well, let me be clear.
You mean like they should be in like prison? They should
let me be clear.
I mean, they should have their own communities and different. Like, what do you mean there?
I'll answer your question.
Okay.
Anybody that looks at someone's sexuality and thinks down upon them and treats them differently because of their sexuality is probably a bigot. Anyone who looks at someone based on the color of their skin or gender and treats them differently for that is a racist and a bigot. Now, let me finish. What I mean by not in society, what I'm trying to say is I wish those people didn't exist. I wish we didn't have morons like that in our society. Can you ship them to another country, a bigot country? No, that's not going to happen. All I'm trying to say here is we would be a better society as a whole, not just the United States, but across the world, if morons didn't think that way. And there are people that are killed in other countries because they are gay. There are people that are killed in other countries. God forbid, if a woman shows her face and her legs, she can be killed. That is absurd. Now, thank God we don't go to those extremes in this country, but there are the Mike Pences of the world out there that believe in conversion therapy. There are the Mike Pences out there that allow their wives to work in schools that not only do not allow homosexuals to work there, but even kids to go to school there. That is wrong. Okay? That way of thinking is wrong. If you don't like the lifestyle, that's fine.
What is that predicated on? Where does that whole entire ideology come from?
You'll have to ask them.
Religion.
You'll have to ask them.
It all comes from religion. One specific religion is very, very against homosexuality.
So is that what Jesus Christ would have said for all these good Christians out there? Jesus would have said, let's treat this part of the population different because they're gay. No, Jesus never said that.
And so what you're saying is that every single person who believes in that religion and who may be you could consider a bigot should not be alive? I mean, that's what you're saying.
No, I'm not.
You say they shouldn't be, you said they shouldn't exist.
I didn't say they shouldn't.
If they're not existing, they're not alive.
I didn't say they shouldn't exist.
I'm saying that's a heck of an over-the-top statement.
That's not what I said.
And it sounds a little fascist.
You think it is a fascist, over-the-top statement for me to say I wish that there weren't bigots and racists in society? How can you make a statement like that?
You're saying that
I wish they weren't in society.
Every single person who follows that specific religion, which happens to not agree with homosexuality, is a bigot.
You're not listening to what I'm saying. I'm not saying if you disagree with homosexuality. I'm talking about the people that treat others differently because they're homosexuals. You have a right to believe what you want. Let me finish. You have a right to not want anybody in your family to be gay, even though I believe you're born that way and people are morons if they don't think that. But I never said, ever, that you're not entitled to your beliefs. If you don't believe in gay marriage, that's fine. I don't agree with you, but I don't have a problem with you. If you don't believe in certain things, believe what you want. Believe in a fairy tale and the tooth fairy. I don't care. Just don't have it affect other people.
I do actually believe in the tooth fairy,
and that's fine.
And the Easter Bunny and Santa Claus.
You know why the guy who punctured the Trump balloon doesn't believe in the tooth fairy? Because he doesn't have any teeth. That's why. But anyway, going back to what I was saying.
Nah, I wouldn't be shocked if Hoyt Hutchinson was a bigot.
Yeah. Anyway, going back, I wish. Do you understand what I'm saying? What I'm trying to say here is you can believe what you want. Don't let it affect other people.
I get what you're saying, but you're basically saying anyone who follows the teaching of a specific religion shouldn't be alive.
Again, that's not what I'm saying. You're totally misrepresenting what I said.
I'm actually not.
Yes, you actually are. I'm saying I wish that racists and bigots were not in society. Am I saying that let's execute every racist and bigot that is in society? No. I just wish they weren't in society. What I'm trying to say here is I just wish we didn't have racism and bigotry out there. And sadly, our vice president is one of those, and you can make the argument about the president of the United States being at least one of those, maybe both.
Quickly though, I don't think you're making the distinction of you want him out of society. You want him to you don't want him to think that way. That's what you're trying to say, right? You don't want.
I got to break, guys. Guys, I got to break.
He just wants 40 million lobotomies to happen across the United States.
Guys, I got to break. Coming up next, we'll be joined by the gun store's former owner of the gun store, Bob Irwin, who's written a book called The Reality of Armed Self-Defense. We're going to ask him, what does he think about this Sandy Hook ruling? Does it change things? You can sue a gun manufacturer. Bob Irwin in studio coming up next. You're listening to the Vegas Take. Take a break. Be back right after this.
The only FM news talk station in the Valley. 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDWN Las Vegas, a Beasley Media Group station.
Special report. Public impeachment hearings begin. President Trump says he's not watching, telling reporters in the Oval Office he's also not concerned about today's proceedings that involve Democrats' legal counsel asking questions.
There's nothing there. I see they're using lawyers that are television lawyers. They took some guys off television. I'm not surprised to see it because Schiff can't do his own questions.
This after the top U.S. envoy to Ukraine, William Taylor, testified that freezing military aid while pressing for investigations into political rivals was, as he put it, crazy.
If we withdraw or suspend or threaten to withdraw our security assistance, that's a message to the Ukrainians, but it's at least as important as your question indicates, Mr. Chairman, to the Russians, who are looking for any sign of weakness or any sign that we are withdrawing our support for Ukraine.
Republicans on Twitter called the hearing a partisan sham. I'm Jan Johnson. President Trump is calling Turkey's President Erdogan a very good friend. Correspondent Bob Costantini says Syria is probably on the agenda for today's White House meeting.
It was Mr. Trump's decision to move U.S. forces out of northern Syria that cleared the way for Turkey's incursion, including military action to eliminate Kurdish fighters who helped the U.S. and NATO free territory held by ISIS. At the same time, Washington is hoping Kurds who do control ISIS prisoners will maintain that control, something the president says they are doing.
Ahead of military drills between the U.S. and South Korea, a new warning from North Korea that the U.S. will face a bigger threat and harsh suffering if Washington fails to meet an end-of-the-year deadline set by Kim Jong-un to revive nuclear talks. Fed Chairman Jerome Powell says slowdowns overseas and trade battles are a risk, but he expects the U.S. economy to continue to grow at a solid pace, and he predicts no change in interest rates. I'm Jan Johnson.
It's time to check the roads in the KDON Traffic Center.
Police activity has closed I-15 ramps at Las Vegas Boulevard, not the through lanes. This is a ramp issue. The on and off ramps from and to the I-15 at Las Vegas Boulevard are closed north and southbound. Also, an accident reported I-15 northbound at Lake Mead Boulevard, blocking the right lane. Are you hiring? With Indeed, you can post a job in minutes, set up screener questions, then zero in on qualified candidates in an online dashboard. Get started at Indeed.com/hire. John Michaels from the KDON Traffic Center.
For more than a year, the whole of Vermont was captivated by the hunt for a runaway golden retriever. Read Catching Murphy, the latest book from the Associated Press. Available now exclusively at Amazon.com.
Are your investment dollars really going to work for you? The average Vestar Tech client gets 78% annual returns. That's right, 78% annual returns for over 2 decades with a recession-proof investment class they just started offering to the public. And for a limited time, you can begin enjoying these amazing annual returns. Call now for more info and to take advantage of 6 months absolutely free. This offer won't last, so call now at 888-88-PROFIT. Call Vestar Tech now. That's 888-88-PROFIT.
Hi, I'm Raymond Denon, Vice President of Optima Tax Relief. If you're in debt to the IRS, there's a lot you need to know. Starting with rule number 1, don't mess with the IRS. They can garnish your paycheck, levy your bank accounts, even take your home or business. That's all true. But it's also true that there's a way out. It's called the Fresh Start Initiative. It's one of the biggest breaks the IRS has ever offered. If you qualify, you could save thousands, even tens of thousands. Nobody knows this program like us, the experts at Optima Tax Relief. We have an A-plus rating with the Better Business Bureau, and we've resolved over $500 million in tax debt for our clients. We'll stand between you and the IRS and fight to get you the best deal possible. Don't mess with the IRS. For tax help you need, for tax help you can trust, call Optima for a free consultation.
Call 800-375-2922. 800-375-2922. 800-375-2922.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Best inventions of all time? The wheel, obviously. Cheeseburgers, no brainer. And of course, Tempur-Pedic mattress technology. Hi, I'm Dave Mizrahi, owner of Best Mattress. Save up to $600 on one of those magnificent Tempur-Pedic mattress sets at our Veterans Day sale. Plus, we'll throw in a $300 gift with purchase. You want more? Okay, 72 months, no interest financing, and free delivery. Best service, best selection, best prices, best mattress. Sleep easy, friends. See store for details.
The opinions of the hosts on KDWN are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of this station, its management, or Beasley Media Group. Right now, the day's biggest news stories from a Vegas perspective. This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro.
All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. So glad you could join us with Chris Wynn in studio as well. If you hadn't heard, folks, a really big ruling took place yesterday in regards to Sandy Hook. The Supreme Court saying that survivors and relatives of victims of the Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting can now pursue their lawsuit against the maker of the rifle that was used to kill 26 people. Make no mistake about it, this is a big deal. It is a big decision. I'm going to say this right now. Listen, I'm not going to necessarily say I'm anti-gun, but I've talked a lot about the assault weapons and the weapons that are used in some of these shootings. I guess you could say I am anti-gun when it comes to those specific weapons. But with that being said, I am not for this lawsuit. I do not agree with it. Here's why I don't agree with it. If the gun manufacturer is not breaking the law, and clearly they did not break the law, in my opinion, if they're not breaking the law, then how can you sue them? You have to change some of the laws that are on the books. Now, if these guns are illegal to be sold and they're selling them to the public, then that would be against the law, and I would totally be okay with the lawsuit. I think this sets a very dangerous precedence. What are you going to sue? Every single gun manufacturer? Every single gun that is used in a murder? No, you can't do that. Let's change the laws. Let's have red flag laws put in place. Let's do something with the mentally ill. I think this is a bad judgment, and it does set a bad precedence. I don't blame the gun manufacturers. Okay, I blame the politicians for not putting laws on the books in place to protect us. I blame some members of the NRA for being way too influential with our politicians. But anyway, I figured what better person to have in studio than discuss this. Of course, his name is Bob Irwin. He actually did a little bit of radio back in the day here. His book is called The Reality of Armed Self-Defense. He's owned the gun store out there, former owner of that gun store for years, and he is extremely knowledgeable when it comes to guns. Bob, thank you so much for being here in studio. Really appreciate it. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Sure. Well, this is your expertise. So, first of all, I would imagine you agree with me. I disagree with this judgment. I think it sets a bad precedence. What do you say?
Well, I think it sets the wrong precedent, but you're misreading the decision. It's the Connecticut Supreme Court that they were upholding that the people do have a right to sue the gun manufacturers, but if you read the entire decision, not just what was written in the headline in the RJ, all they affirmed was the right to sue gun manufacturers. Even the people who are for the lawsuit feel that it has virtually no chance of surviving. They affirmed the right to sue, and the suit is based on the fact they were marketing guns purposely to teenagers and mentally ill people, and they're going to need to prove.
How can they prove that?
Well, that's the thing. I don't know how it can be proved.
They're marketing to the mentally
ill?
To
mentally ill individuals in America?
That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, that's weird.
What they are hoping, it says in the end of the article, is that the lawsuit will allow them to get into internal memos that Remington and Olympic Arms and so forth, the distribution manufacturers, had, and they they hope, literally, that's their term, they hope that it will show they knew they were intentionally marketing to the mentally ill.
But we all agree in studio that this is going to go nowhere.
It's
They
going to
have
go
no chance of winning this, right?
It's going to go nowhere. But the basics of my point is they didn't win the decision to sue the manufacturers except for wrongful marketing to the mentally ill and teenagers.
So let's talk about what I think the people that should be sued, and some of them are being sued. The guy from InfoWars, what's his name?
Alex Jones.
Alex Jones, who I think is a nut job, and all he cares about is clicks. He made these assumptions that he believes that shooting never happened. He hurt a lot of people with his comments because he's a nut, right? Now, many of us could just laugh it off and say, hey, this guy's a nut, right, to people like us. But if you lost a daughter or a son or a family member and you hear some nut job that actually has a platform say things like that, you can sue for damages. So I'm okay with that lawsuit. That should have no place in our society, number one. Number two, I think you could sue the mother who died by the hands of her son, because I think that mother was extremely irresponsible in this way. Her son was clearly mentally ill and deranged. Should have never learned how to shoot a weapon. Should have never had access to guns in the house. Ultimately, it cost her own life. So you can sue her family, I believe, for financial damages. I would be okay with that lawsuit. I'm not sure you can sue anybody else. But do you agree with me there on those two lawsuits?
Yeah, and in fact, her estate was sued.
Good.
And I believe that is still in the court system. Good. But she was, even though she's dead, her estate has been sued, so her remaining family cannot receive any funds.
Good.
Which I think she's fine with anyway.
Good. I'm happy with that at least, but it's not going to bring those kids back, sadly. The number to call, by the way, if you want to be a part of this conversation, we're talking about the Sandy Hook ruling, which allows a lawsuit in Connecticut to the gun manufacturers. The number to call is 702-257-5396, 702-257-5396. Before I take a few calls, I just want to give you my general opinions on guns, so on and so forth. I think what Beto O'Rourke said, obviously you're going to disagree with that. We want to confiscate all your guns, mandatory buyback by the government. That's never going to happen. But I think there are several things that need to happen immediately. First of all, the banning of bump stocks is not going to do anybody any good. Anybody that knows anything about guns could make their own bump stock, right, Bob? Okay, so that's number one. Number two, we need red flag laws put in place. Listen, here's what I mean by that. Let me give you an example. If a husband threatens his wife with text messages or proof with a phone call that says, I'm going to kill you when I get back from blah, 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 blah. I'm going to get my gun and I'm going to kill you, okay? And the wife calls the police, and there is a text message that has proof of that. I don't know if it should be a ban for a month or 6 months. Let the politicians decide on that. But I am not comfortable with that guy carrying a weapon after making a serious threat like that. That's what I mean by red flag laws. What happened in Parkland? 80 times the police were called to that kid's house. Yet he was legally allowed to purchase a gun. That should have never happened. Now, you can make the argument, well, the police didn't do their job. Fine, I'll agree with that, but there still needs to be red flag laws put in place. And many Republicans, they want nothing to do with red flag laws. I disagree with that. Now, we know that we need to do something with the mentally ill. We want to make sure that guns are in the hands of responsible individuals, not the mentally ill. And even people on the right, would agree with that. Now, how do we go about doing that? I don't know, but we're not doing a good enough job. I think those are the things that we need to focus on, Bob.
I agree. The problem with the red flag laws is the enforcement. And where we have under the Constitution a right to keep and bear arms, unfortunately in some people's minds, and we have a right to the takings clause that says you cannot take property without just compensation, so on and so on. The Second Amendment and the takings laws fall right into the problem. The incident you just described, a husband threatening by text message, he's committing a felony. He doesn't have a right to possess firearms, so his firearms can be seized under current law without the red flag thing.
But you would agree in some cases that person will not be arrested for that. Sometimes they don't enforce it when they should.
I agree the police sometimes don't enforce it.
Right, and that needs to be enforced, especially in this day and age.
If a husband sends his wife a message via Facebook and not via text message, then legally local PD can't get involved, and he has to go through the FBI, and that process takes a long time.
I agree, and
a
Bob,
lot, a lot of that stuff happens digitally.
I agree, and Bob, and what if it's just a verbal thing? There's no text messages. There's no absolute 100% proof, and it's her word versus his, and the police show up, and he says, "I didn't say that at all." Why not do some type of 24-hour or 48-hour, hold when there's something serious and it needs to be investigated? But anyway,
they currently do that.
They do.
If the person is committing a felony, a threat to life or something like that, the police will go in. We always have, and seize guns from people. And
why didn't that work in Parkland then? What did they not do?
No system works every time, and people fall through the cracks. But
80 times though, police called to his house 80 times.
Well, I understand that.
Yeah.
The police failed to do something they should have done and should have noticed. The police, I'm an ex-cop, as you know, and they can't be everywhere all the time. It is really difficult to handle each individual case when it's happening in mass. We're finding that with the homeless. What are they going to do with this?
Right.
I was at a Republican meeting last night where some speakers from the audience took Joe Lombardo to task because he doesn't imprison misdemeanor offenders, but he does.
Right.
The whole argument is based on the fact that he doesn't do it. Of course he doesn't do it.
Everyone would agree, Bob, that this is a very complex issue and there's no easy fix. Why don't we take some phone calls? Bob Irwin joining us in studio. He's the author of the book, The Reality of the Armed Self-Defense. And we're talking about this Sandy Hook ruling, which allows some of the family members of those who lost their lives in Sandy Hook to file a lawsuit against the gun manufacturer on the Connecticut Supreme Court. We're taking your phone calls at 702-257-5396. Again, that number to call is 257-5396. Why don't we start off with Chris? Chris, thanks for calling in. You're on with the Bob Irwin. What's on your mind?
Hi. First of all, I'm not even from the area. I just listened to your show and was very informative. One thing I wanted to say is I'm a moderate in the Second Amendment. I've been shooting for 40 years, and I have, believe it or not, a bunch of different types of weapons collecting from World War II on. My biggest thing, I had this discussion even last week with a DA up in Washington State, and that is that both sides are being disingenuous about telling the whole truth, but it mainly comes down to what verbiage are we using? If you can't speak the same language, what is an assault weapon, what is not an assault weapon? That you can't even have a conversation. Like Biden said that he doesn't want a magazine that holds 100 clips. That was just the other day.
Well, let's have, and that's a fair point, Chris. And by the way, I agree with you. It happens on both sides, the left and the right. But let me give you I'm not a gun expert, okay? I don't have the knowledge that Bob has. I don't have the knowledge that you have. But I will say this, and I say this in logical terms. The types of guns that were used that killed 58 people in Las Vegas, the types of guns that were used in the Texas El Paso shooting, basically the types of guns that were used in the last 20 mass shootings in this country, for the most part, are the guns that I don't want sold on the streets. That's the best way I could explain it.
Here's the one problem with that, and this is just, again, speaking from a person, and your guy from the gun store can even admit it. An AR-15, which of the 49 calibers are you going to do? Are you banning my pistol? Are you banning my shotgun? Are you banning my 22? Are you
okay, so let me respond by saying this. Was it a pistol that killed 58 people in Las Vegas?
Was it a 22?
It's the same gun.
Was it a 22?
I'm asking you a very specific question, and you just talked about being honest. Now I want you to be honest. Did a pistol... Okay, so I'm asking you a question. It's a yes or no. Was it a pistol that was used to kill 58 people in Las Vegas? Yes or no, sir?
Okay. The answer to that is no, but it was
okay. So let's move on. Okay, so let's,
no.
You're the one. Listen, hold on a second. You're the one who brought up. You're the one. Hold on. You're the one who just. Sir, you can lecture me on guns all you want to, but I asked you a specific question. You're the one who used the word pistol. Okay, don't bring up the word pistol in this conversation. It wasn't used in Texas, El Paso. It wasn't used in Las Vegas. Talk about the pistols that were used to execute 58 people in Las Vegas, sir.
Sir, you don't understand the terminology. This is what I'm trying to
I just asked you if a pistol was used, and you said no, so don't bring it up.
An AR-15 is also a pistol. An AR-15 is also a shotgun. What are you trying to do?
We don't We don't need to get into the weeds about the details. We've seen mass shootings in this country. You can just decipher what type of weapons were used in these mass shootings. There's a reason why okay, that this has been something in the media that's been discussed. There's a reason why American gun culture right now is being talked about. It's because in this country, it's specific to mass shootings.
And Bob,
there's been, 200-plus mass shootings in this country, in the last, decade or whatever it is. The numbers are ridiculously high in America as opposed to any other country around the world.
All right, let me let Bob and Bob, am I wrong in saying that when you use the term pistol, most people see that as a handgun? Am I wrong in making that assumption?
No, that's the common.
So what is this guy talking about?
Terminology.
Why would he use the term pistol then in regards to these mass shootings?
I think what the guy on the phone is trying to say, the 58 people who were killed in Las Vegas by gunfire from what they describe as a military-style weapon.
Correct.
During the time period this year in the United States, more people have been killed with handguns, about 9 to 1, as were killed with long guns.
And I don't disagree with that.
And when we pointed that out on the gun side, some people did, that handguns are what's actually taking all the lives. Then the left simply said, well, that's true, we agree, so we should outlaw handguns. And that's how we got the new stuff pending in Congress that outlaws not only rifles, but all handguns.
And I understand, Bob, what you're saying, but let me bring this up. When was the last time you heard of a large mass shooting that was used at the hands of what you're talking about, a handgun?
Well, it's fairly rare, but it does happen. Several of them.
Rare.
Some of them were with handguns, with extended magazines and so forth. The Gabby Gifford case and so forth. And that was blamed on the extended magazines. It was blamed on this and blamed on the shooter and blamed on everybody else.
But Bob, I think the point I'm trying to make, Bob, is that the handgun wasn't used on October 1, killing 58 people. And handguns are practical, and military weapons are not, for average citizens. That's the point I'm trying to make.
But handguns are used in about 85 to 90% of gang killings,
and that's
like the ones that happened in Chicago that are not even being discussed.
I understand, but we're talking about mass shootings right now. You're right. Gun violence is across the globe, especially in this country, and many of those shootings or murders occur with handguns. I agree with you, Bob. Let's take some more phone calls. 257-5396, 702-257-5396. Why don't we go to Stephen? Stephen, you are next on the Vegas Take. You're on with Bob Irwin. Is this Stephen? No, I believe that's there we go. Stephen, are you there? Go ahead.
This is Stephen, yes.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Bob, I was wondering if you had any experience with this federal watch list. The reason I ask is I have a personal friend. He was a Metro policeman for about 6 or 7 years before he went to work for the Gaming Control Board. He became one of the top detectives for the Gaming Control Board. And then when he retired, he spoke out on a number of public affairs, and he got on the federal watch list. And it's caused him all kinds of problems. He did 5 weeks up at the Lakes Crossing for a psychological evaluation.
All right, let's see what Bob. Let's let Bob respond to that, and we appreciate your question. Thank you for calling. Go ahead, Bob. What do you say?
Well, the federal watch list is a usable tool for counterterrorism. The problem is it's really easy to get on and really hard to get off. Mm-hmm. And I would like to see it improved, the research on it. But the problem is, of course, we're looking at hundreds of thousands. They're looking at international terrorists and gangbangers and cartel members and so forth to get on that watch list for coming in and out of the country on aircraft. And it is a monumental task to research all of those individuals, and are they going to get it wrong? Yes, they are. The judge sending your associate there up to Lakes Crossing is a pretty serious step. That means the psychologist on the local level determined he needed to be evaluated, and the evaluation is usually a week or 2. 5 months is a long time. Mm-hmm. I would suggest that there may be some mental issues they found that caused that. Again, I don't know. I'm not a psychologist. So
I wish you were, because I need some help in that category, Bob.
Well,
that's for sure.
I've heard that from a lot of sources. So
let's take a few more phone calls. You have good sources, by the way. 702-257-5396 is the number to call. Bob Irwin joining us in studio. The author of the book, The Reality of Armed Self-Defense. Let's go to Brian. Brian, you're next on the Vegas Take. We lost Brian. 257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to Gary. Gary, I believe you're next. You're on with Bob. Go ahead, Gary.
Hey, I'm trying to stay focused. I'm a Second
what do you call advocate, but psychologist, like Clinical Carl. Say I'm mentally ill. All right, there's somebody's going to send me because we're going to take care of the mentally ill for a change. Which psychologist are they going to assign to me? I lean very conservative, so they're going to send me to a psychologist like a liberal, and vice versa. How does that? Do I have a right to oppose that? Can I sue somebody?
You want to sue? You want to sue somebody if they send you to a psychologist that might be liberal? Is that what I'm getting, Gary? Is that your point of this call? Okay, well, that's utterly ridiculous.
I'm being bigoted and discriminated because I'm mentally ill.
What do you mean you're being bigoted?
Why are you being bigoted?
What are you talking about?
You're saying a psychologist can't do their job because of their political ideology?
That's
Is that
absurd.
what you're trying to say?
That's absurd.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm trying
well,
to say.
Then that's ridiculous.
Gary, maybe that's
going to give you a different
Gary, with all
diagnosis.
due respect, Gary, maybe that's why you're mentally ill. 702-257-5396 is the number to call. Again, that number, if you want to join us, we're joined by Bob Irwin, 702-257-5396. Look, there's no doubt about it. Gun violence is on the rise. Hate crimes are on the rise. And Bob is right. A lot of these murders that are taking place, at killings, gang shootings, you name it, could be at the hands of some sort of handgun. He's absolutely right. But I'm specifically talking about 58 people that lost their lives in Las Vegas. I'm talking about the Sandy Hook shooting. I'm talking about the shootings in Texas, El Paso, even the Gilroy lawsuit that's going on right now. And I personally believe, in my opinion, Bob, some of these guns that are used in these mass shootings should not be on the market to anyone. I believe some of these weapons, not all of them, but some of these weapons are weapons of war. I believe they should be used by our military. I believe they should be used by law enforcement. Whether you're a law-abiding citizen or not, I'm just not comfortable with some of these weapons out there to be bought on the streets.
It's you're obviously welcome to your opinion, and a lot of people in the country share that opinion. Unfortunately, the truth is that AR-15s are used for self-defense way more often than they're used for mass shootings. Mass shootings, as horrible as they are a tiny fraction of the gun violence in this country. And Senator Bloomberg and so forth have decided that the gun is the problem. As you know, I do expert witness work in shootings, and I have never found one where the gun pulled its own trigger, the gun pointed itself at another human being. The gun is an object which is used by a deranged or a normal or any person.
Well, can I ask you a question,
though? The gun
though?
is not the issue.
Let me interject and ask you a question. If your son or daughter or granddaughter or whoever is, God forbid, in a school, and you have a deranged, mentally ill individual walking in there with a gun, would you rather have them God forbid, if you had to make a decision like this, but I think it's to my point, would you rather have them use the type of weapons that were used in Texas, El Paso, or Las Vegas, or would you rather have them have a handgun?
I would rather they weren't there at all.
Of course.
Trained security officer was on scene.
Of course.
And metal detectors, and they could stop it. And where those things have been put in place, they have stopped school shootings.
I agree, and I think any logical person would agree with what you just said, but the reason why I asked you that specific question is because I think it's a logical question, and you want the type of weapon that cannot expound as many rounds of ammunition because it would cause mass casualties and more carnage, and that's all I'm saying, and that's why I feel the way I feel. These people that say, well, if you can't use guns, then you use a car or you can use a knife. Find me, someone that killed 58 people with a knife. It certainly didn't happen as far as I know. So that's why I ask you that question.
A lot of knife killings in London, Brian.
No, not 58 people. But, Bob, that's why I ask you that question, and that's why I feel the way I feel. Yes, in a perfect world, you never want to make that decision.
Bob,
you'd want armed people in there, of course.
Bob, you bring up how a person or a gun never pulls its own trigger. But even if a person pulls the trigger of a gun, what's actually killing another human being is the bullet, right?
Okay.
Was that a question?
It's true.
No, but at what point do you have to take into consideration the type of bullets that are used?
Yes, we should probably outlaw bullets. The problem with the misinterpretation of ballistics, when you get into that, is the military ammunition, generally not used for home defense, because it passes through walls, it passes through people. I've worked cases where we went through 4 walls across a yard and hit a neighbor. Hollow point, soft point, what the media sometimes calls cop killer bullets, are much safer because they tend to stop in the first person or not go through the wall completely if they hit a wall. So the military ammunition is actually safer for the hollow point ammunition is actually safer for self-defense. And then they turn around and say, well, these are cop killer bullets because they're hollow points.
You know what? I think Chris Rock, though, said it
they're
best.
They're not.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I think Chris Rock, though, said it best when he said, we should charge $100 per bullet, then we wouldn't have all these shootings and gang-related shootings. Charge $100 per bullet. That's I don't know. I think he was joking.
That is one of the things proposed by the left side now in Congress is to tax firearms at 50% of manufacturing cost and tax ammunition at 30%.
But I think
or the other way around, which would double the cost of firearms, as if that would stop gangsters from buying or stealing firearms.
Probably not, but I think we all agree on one thing, and that is we do not want to get these weapons in the hands of bad people that want to do harm to innocent people, and that is something that Republicans and Democrats need to get together and talk about. So we'll take a quick break, and when we come back, I want to talk a little bit about Colin Kaepernick. I want to get your thoughts on that because he's got these workouts going on Saturday, and I know there's plenty of conservatives that are not fans of Colin Kaepernick. I'm not a fan of Colin Kaepernick. I want to get your thoughts on that, and should he be allowed to be back in the NFL? Megan Rapone, whiteness comments. I want to get your thoughts on that as well. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. We're here with Bob Irwin. Take a quick break. You're listening to The Vegas Take, 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDAWN.
Special report. Public impeachment hearings begin. President Trump says too much is going on at the White House for him to pay attention to the impeachment probe down Pennsylvania Avenue.
I'm too busy to watch it. It's a witch hunt. It's a hoax. I'm too busy to watch it. So I'm sure I'll get a report. There's nothing. I have not been briefed, no.
The president speaking with reporters in the Oval Office while his administration's top diplomat in Ukraine, William Taylor, testified about side dealings inside the administration.
I encountered an irregular, informal channel of U.S. policymaking with respect to Ukraine, unaccountable to Congress. A channel that included then Special Envoy Kurt Volker, U.S. Ambassador to the European Union Gordon Sondland, Secretary of Energy Rick Perry, White House Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney, and, as I subsequently learned, Mr. Giuliani.
Taylor called a freeze on military aid while pressing for investigations into political rivals crazy. I'm Jan Johnson.
It's time to check the roads in the KDAWN Traffic Center.
Police activity has closed I-15 ramps at Las Vegas Boulevard, not the through lanes. This is a ramp issue. The on and off ramps from and to the I-15 at Las Vegas Boulevard are closed north and southbound. Also, an accident reported I-15 northbound at Lake Mead Boulevard, blocking the right lane. Are you hiring? With Indeed, you can post a job in minutes, set up screener questions, then zero in on qualified candidates in an online dashboard. Get started at Indeed.com/hire. John Michaels from the KDAWN Traffic Center.
I feel great, the kind of great you feel when you luck into a parking spot right up front. The kind of great when you score one of those jumbo-sized candy bars at Trick or Treat. Hi, I'm Dave Mizrahi, owner of Best Mattress, and you can feel great too. Here's how. Right now at the Best Mattress Veterans Day sale, save up to $800 on the brands you know and trust. Serta, Sealy, Beautyrest, Stearns & Foster, and Tempur-Pedic. And 72 months no interest financing. Feeling great already, aren't you? Best Mattress, home of the 120-day Sleep Easy guarantee. See store for details.
Are your investment dollars really going to work for you? The average Vestar Tech client gets 78% annual returns. That's right, 78% annual returns for over 2 decades with a recession-proof investment class they just started offering to the public. And for a limited time, you can begin enjoying these amazing annual returns. Call now for more info and to take advantage of 6 months absolutely free. This offer won't last, so call now at 888-88-PROFIT. Call Vestar Tech now. That's 888-88-PROFIT.
Parents, you always say you want what's best for your children. If that's the case, then you should be bringing your kid to Infinity, the Math Institute, where every student earns an A or B in math. Our results are proven and they are amazing. The best tutoring service for the best price, whether online or in person, small group or one-on-one. You cannot get better results. Great grades will come when your child truly understands the math. From elementary math to calculus, we have the best tutors, the best materials, and the best results. Now offering free parent seminars on how to better help your child, what is Common Core, and more. Find out why parents are bragging and students are enjoying school again by calling 702-768-1777. That's 702-768-1777 or visit themathinstitute.com today. Tell them the Vegas Take sent you, because at Infinity, you don't get more math problems, you get solutions.
Are you drinking too much? Is that beer or two after work turning into 6 or 8? You know it's taking a toll on your liver and overall health, and it's probably already affecting your relationships and work performance. You have thought about quitting but don't want to attend those local meetings, and you know rehab is not for you.
I'm not an alcoholic. I just want to drink less.
Well, now there's a new way to get help cutting back on drinking without having to quit. Just get your life back. Life Back, that's Life BAC, is an online doctor-supervised prescription program with medication that totally removes or significantly reduces cravings in 92% of people. The program is discreet, easy to follow, and costs less per month than a drink a day. Plus, it comes with a free doctor consultation and 30-day money-back guarantee. Go to lifebac.com and join our program or download the app today. Lifebac.com. Drink less. Live better. lifebac.com.
O'Reilly. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts for our See Better, Drive Safer sale going on right now. Get great deals on everything from wiper blades to headlight bulbs. Plus, save on your next oil change with 5 quarts of O'Reilly Full Synthetic Motor Oil and MicroGuard Filter, just $25.99. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Looking for that perfect new piece of furniture for your home? A New Concept Furniture is the place to start and end your search. They'll beat any price on the internet, and they're here locally, so you can feel what you're buying first. Go to A New Concept Furniture today at 4255 South Grand Canyon to see for yourself the slick, modern, shiny store that mirrors our shiny city. A New Concept. Check out their showroom or call them at 702-570-2240. That's 702-570-2240.
Sean Hannity, weekdays noon to 3 p.m. Now back to the Vegas Take on 101.5 FM, 720 AM. KDON.
All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take. Sharp and Shapiro, so glad you could join us. By the way, coming up in hour number 3, you could call him disgraced former NBA referee Tim Donaghy. He went to jail.
Yeah, he served time. So
yeah, he served
that's
time.
Not good.
Some would say for fixing basketball games. New movie out called Inside Game about his life. It's out in theaters. So he'll be coming up here in hour number 3. But joining us in studio, it's Bob Irwin, a former owner of the gun store, author of the book The Reality of Armed Self-Defense. So we talked a lot about the gun control issues. I want to move on now because there's a new story out in regards to Colin Kaepernick. He's going to be holding a Saturday workout in Atlanta, and all NFL teams are invited. Let me give you, and I'll try to be as precise and fast as I can because I want to hear from all of you, but here's my opinion on Colin Kaepernick in a nutshell, okay? I'm going to say his heart was in the right place when he decided to take a knee. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and say that he does care about this issue, even though some people will question the timing of why he did it. Why did he do it when his career was on the down? Why did he do it? Why didn't he do it when he was, a Super Bowl quarterback? But that's okay. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt on that. Here's my problem with Colin Kaepernick. Number one, and this is probably my biggest issue with Colin Kaepernick. Many players in the NFL have gone to Washington and spoke to politicians about this issue. Many players in the NFL, both current and former, have gone into the police departments, have spoken to police chiefs of how we can make a change. Colin Kaepernick has never done that. I'll tell you what Colin Kaepernick has done. He has raised some money for charity, okay? He has donated money to charity. But to me, if you take a knee to try to raise the issue, and if people out there don't believe or didn't know that there were issues between minorities and police officers, then you're a moron, okay? So I don't understand why just taking a knee will get anything done. That's number one. Number two, he has profited and made more money from taking a knee off the field than if he was a player on the field. That is another issue that I have with Colin Kaepernick. Here's the third issue I have. You cannot be considered to be taken seriously when you wear a shirt promoting Castro. Okay, Castro was an evil, murderous dictator. You might as well wear an Adolf Hitler shirt and walk into a synagogue. When you wear a Castro shirt, and you're hanging out in Miami, you are a doofus and you are a moron, and nobody can defend that. I don't think Colin Kaepernick is very intelligent. And then he wears pig socks, depicting all police officers as pigs. Do I believe that there are some police officers out there? And Bob, you're a former police officer, okay? When you see somebody like Colin Kaepernick wear pig socks, how can you take somebody like that seriously? So those are the reasons why I don't like Colin. This is why I think he is a fraud, and I don't think he's extremely intelligent. You being a former police officer, Bob, what do you think about this?
Well, I'm not obviously really fond of his police pig socks and comments about police. The overwhelming majority of officers try to do it right and try to do it fair and on and on. There are, as with any profession, there's 2% of them that are jerks. Unless we're talking lawyers, then it's up to like 5%. But no, I disagree with with that altogether. I'm not going to pass on his football skills. If he wants to have a tryout, great.
Does he deserve another chance, Bob?
I think almost everybody in the world deserves another chance.
All right, fair enough. Chris, what do you say to that?
All right, so a couple of things here, Brian. All right, you pointed obviously you don't like the man. Okay, you pointed that out. You've been very clear about that.
I had no
but
problem
here's
with
the
him
deal.
before.
Well, here's the deal. Okay, we're talking about two separate things here. You're talking about how much he buys in to this issue of social awareness regarding law enforcement, okay? And whether it's 10% or 20% or 50%, that's irrelevant, okay? Because we're talking about that part of it, and then we're also talking about whether or not he should be in the NFL right now as a quarterback.
I'll give you my opinion on that.
And that
I didn't give my opinion on that.
That's well, you're basically you asked a question.
I'm telling you
whether
why
or
I don't
not
like the guy.
he quote unquote deserves a chance, as if he's done something wrong, as if he's been convicted of a crime,
Chris.
as if he's done something. The guy, okay, is being blackballed by the NFL, okay, and he's been vilified in all types of media. Because
that's
of his
true.
perception.
Not
true.
Not all types of media. That's not true.
Okay, so you're trying to tell me, okay, that there's positions for 3 quarterbacks, right? At least 2 quarterbacks on every NFL roster.
Can I give you?
You're trying to tell me for the last 5 to 7 years, all right, Colin Kaepernick is not good enough to be on a roster in the NFL?
Let me respond to what you said. First of all, let me give you my opinion. If an NFL team is willing to sign him, I have no problem with that. But here's where we talk about. Everyone talks about, well, he has the right to take a knee. Let me tell you something.
Well, he does.
Okay, well, let me explain. If your employer thinks, for whatever reason, that you're hurting their business, if your employer says, listen, these are our rules, you need to abide by them, or you can be fired, guess what? The employer has the right to do that. Listen, you have the right.
We got into this many times, Brian. Okay,
that is
he's not
law.
the average Joe. He's not a mailman. He's not a guy that punches the clock.
Where am I wrong?
He's a public figure. Okay, that is a professional athlete.
It doesn't matter.
There's a reason why they are kneeling. It's because they're trying to bring attention.
There are laws
what do you
and
mean
rules.
It doesn't matter. It does matter. These guys aren't just regular
employees. The employer
employees.
has a right to tell you that you can or can't take a knee.
Absolutely, they have the right.
That's my point.
But that doesn't. But that doesn't mean when they go about protesting or whatever it is that they do. Okay, it doesn't necessarily. They're very selective as far as how
it doesn't matter
NFL
whether
teams
they're
or
selective.
NBA teams
it doesn't
handle
matter.
It, okay,
the law is the law, and your employer has
the
right.
Law?
He can go on a public sidewalk.
We're talking about protesting.
He can go on a public sidewalk and say and do whatever he wants to. But when you're working for somebody and you're earning paychecks, your boss has the right to tell you whether you can or cannot do something like that and take a political stance and take a knee. He has the right to go on his front lawn and do whatever the hell he wants to do. He has the right to go on social media.
So Brian, so Colin Kaepernick kneeled. What about all the other NFL players that kneeled down? Should they be out of the NFL too? Should they have been? Should they have faced the consequences that he faced?
Let me be very clear.
You're saying they follow law.
First of all,
it's every NFL team does the same thing.
Excuse me, Colin Kaepernick is a second-rate quarterback. He's not a starting quarterback. He would not be a starting quarterback.
Did I say he was an MVP candidate?
Let me finish. So the fact that you want to sit here and say that he could do one of these teams such due diligence and help them.
He should be on a roster. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. If you think but there are owners and managers out there that feel like it's not worth the risk to sign this guy because of the backlash.
Exactly.
Because regardless of whether you think or not, there are fans out there that will not go to games. There are people that will not watch the games because Colin Kaepernick is on that roster. Now, I don't agree with that, but the bottom line is if the NFL feels and these owners feel like it's not worth the risk of a second-rate backup quarterback, then I don't blame them for not signing the guy. And by the way, stop making him out to be the damn victim. He's not a victim. The guy is making millions and millions of dollars off the field.
He is?
Absolutely, with Nike. Last I heard,
because he got the Nike deal.
Last I heard, he signed a $10 million
Okay.
contract with Nike.
Look,
You're telling me he would have made $10 million as an NFL?
That doesn't keep him away from being a victim when it comes to
He's not
the
a victim.
circumstances
Stop.
regarding.
Because
of his NFL career, that's why he's a victim. It's not
sure
because of how much money he's making or because he got the Nike deal. I mean, come on. You got to be. I mean, you got to be.
Go ahead,
You got to be
JD.
straight across the board here.
I'm pretty sure that he won an Emmy for his Nike commercial, by the way.
Which is ridiculous.
That's fine.
It was an award-winning commercial.
What Brian's referring to, though, is the Nike deal. That's the millions of dollars. Colin Kaepernick, you're telling me Colin Kaepernick hasn't lost millions of dollars because of this circumstance?
Take a breath. Hold on. Let me open up the phone lines. For those of you out there that want to be a part of this conversation, do you think that Colin Kaepernick deserves a second chance in the NFL? I don't have a problem with somebody giving him another chance, but I also don't have a problem.
Tight end.
I also don't have a hold on. I also don't have a problem with the NFL saying no. Here's the number if you want to be a part of this conversation. Your thoughts on Colin Kaepernick, 702-257-5396. Again, that number to call if you want to be a part of this conversation in regards to Colin Kaepernick, 702-257-5396. Again, Bob, I know you're a former law enforcement. How long were you a police officer, by the way?
I was in law enforcement, bailiff and constable for 26 years.
Okay, 26 years. So let me ask you this question. When people say that they believe that the majority of police officers are racist, we had somebody that came in yesterday, Stretch Sanders, who thinks that the majority of police officers are bad people, are racists. How does that make you feel as someone that served?
They're wrong. The problem is you have to enforce laws. And if the usual thing is I get stopped all the time because I'm black. And that's the most common complaint. It's what's caused all the problems in Arizona. And I defy anyone in this room with all these smoke windows and stuff to tell me when you're behind a car what the race of the driver is. You cannot tell. You can tell how he's driving, but you can't tell who you're pulling over by race. It's virtually impossible. I want to just throw in one thing about your argument. I've had at my gun shop, when I had the gun store, we had employees who were politically on one side or the other of the gun issue.
Right.
And when they would express their opinion to the customers, I would warn them.
Mm-hmm.
And when they continue to do it, I let them go.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're standing behind my counter, they are making statements on behalf of the gun store. And if it isn't a down the middle, we try to stay out of that issue type of thing, they can politic somewhere else. And I agree with you on Kaepernick with that statement.
Mm-hmm.
The employer has the right to say, when I'm paying you and you're on the field, you got to play by my rules.
Okay, but I'm telling you guys, there's a muddying of the waters here because we're talking about public figures, okay? There's a reason why. Look, there's a reason why. Okay, professional athletes protest on a national stage when they're on when the national anthem's going on and there's a possibility of exposure. All right, we're not talking about people that work at a gun store. We're not talking about people that are postmen. We're not talking about people that work 9 to 5 punching the clock. I'm not talking about that.
No, we're talking about a backup
public
quarterback.
figures. So there's a reason. Well, yeah, exactly. But
with his career going down the
and by
toilet.
the way, he spearheaded this whole thing. So that's why he's the figurehead.
Let's take some phone calls. We got phone lines are jammed at 257-5396. What do you think about this Colin Kaepernick thing? Apparently, he's got a Saturday workout and he's inviting all NFL teams. Do you think he deserves a second chance? Do you agree with me and Bob? Don't agree with some of the stuff he's done off the field, the way he's gone about it. Do you agree with Chris? 257-5396. Why don't we start off with Mike? Mike, thanks for calling into the Vegas Take. What do you think about this?
Yes, as a business owner, I would agree that while he's on the field, that's the property of the team, or certainly influenced by the league, and the owner has every right to say, "Don't offend half my customers." So if it's the flip side, and the guy's wearing a MAGA hat or a shirt, and he's alienating all that crowd, and it's costing me as an employer business, I absolutely have the right. And if Kaepernick wanted to, go to Congress, or like some of the things you mentioned, how much time and effort has he put into this subject beyond the 2 minutes of the anthem to have a case? As far as giving him a second chance, okay, maybe, but the rules are clear. While you're at work, you don't alienate half my customers.
I agree, Mike. I think it sounds pretty simple to me, Mike. I agree with you 100%, and we appreciate the phone call. Thank you very much. 257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to Nick. Nick, you're next on the Vegas Take. What do you say about all this?
Hey guys. You know what? The Kevin Kaepernick thing. It's not muddied waters. His First Amendment rights were not violated in any way, shape, or form by the government of the United States, and that's what you're protected from.
That's a good point.
He's an employee that was representing his franchise and the franchisee on the field at the time. He starts when he walks into the stadium, not when the national anthem's going. The moment he's putting the uniform on and representing the team, that's when he starts.
So you're just basically dismissing my entire point was that he's a public figure, and there's a reason behind the protest on a national stage. It's not because he, look. So let me ask you this question then. So okay, Colin Kaepernick has been blackballed out of the NFL. I think we can all agree with that, right? He's not had an opportunity to get a job in the NFL.
He's not been blackballed. He put himself there.
Okay, so let me ask you this question.
Hold on.
Your job, you would lose your job.
All right. How about this?
So
Okay, let me ask you a very simple question. What about all the other NFL players that have knelt, during the national? And by the way, we're not talking about wearing a MAGA hat. We're not talking about wearing a T-shirt that says
Chris, they're not allowed to kneel anymore.
No,
they're not kneeling anymore.
No, you got to understand what I'm saying, okay? Why back then did all the other NFL players who knelt down not get punished by their NFL team that is so upset because, it's destroying our product?
Eventually they were.
Weren't. Nobody was fined. Nobody was kicked. No other players was kicked out of the league.
All right, Chris, let him respond.
Am I wrong?
Go ahead, Nick.
Eric Reed.
Go ahead.
I'm not running those NFL teams, so I can't respond to why the NFL or the other one didn't do that. You're asking about him in particular, and him in particular, that's what the NFL chose to do. The NFL chose to close employment. Well, now he's unemployed, just like everybody else that would be in a situation where they're doing that at work.
Well, I think there's a combination of reasons why his employment.
Money from sponsors and benefiting from what he
Absolutely, Nick, and that's a very valid point.
I think there's a number of reasons why his employment was quote unquote pulled. Okay, by the way, it was pulled by the team. Okay, that he was playing for, and there's a lot of credence to what you guys are saying as far as his production on the field. Okay, yes, he wasn't playing as great as he wasn't the quarterback that he once was. That was combined with this.
Chris, I do find it interesting that all of a sudden, he decides to take a stand on this issue when his career is going down the toilet. Why didn't he do it when he was a Super Bowl quarterback? Why does he wait to do it when he was on the end of the bench and at the end of a contract? Explain that to me.
You can question his motivation.
You're damn
but
right
I'm
questioning it.
Okay, so you're saying that there is not an issue when it comes to social injustice
of course
with
there
certain
is.
law enforcement
Of course
officials.
there is. Of course there is.
Well, then that's
but why does he
that's
decide,
the topic he's trying to bring to the forefront.
And why does he decide to bring up the topic when his career is going down the you know what?
Look, I can't answer that question. I'm not Colin Kaepernick.
Of course you can't answer.
I can't answer the question as to how much he is, in depth as far as the topic is concerned. I don't know.
Poor Bob is going to lose his hearing. He's in the middle of this conversation. 257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to Calvin, 257-5396. Calvin, you're next on the Vegas Take. What do you think about all this?
I was a cop for 30 years here. This man can wear whatever he wants to wear. If I walk into a house, a guy got an F the police shirt on, and he's calling for service, I still have to service that guy. And as far as Colin Kaepernick, if he goes out and tries out for a team, if someone lets him and he beats out the other players, he should be allowed to play.
Okay, Calvin, let me respond to that. Okay, first of all, we're talking about a pace of employment. If someone's wearing an F the police in his own house, he can wear whatever he wants to. It is your due duty to do your job. However, if he walks into his place of work, his place of business, a cubicle, an office, and he walks in there with a shirt that says F the police, his employer has the right to say, you can't wear that, you're fired.
Okay, but we're talking about. Well, are we talking about? We're talking about kneeling for the national anthem. You guys are making the equation as if he's wearing offensive stuff.
Chris, Eric
kneeling
was
for the national
anthem for
anthem
6 months. If Colin Kaepernick, first of all, he's had opportunities to show his ability at lower leagues. We don't know if he can still play the game. I know that in his last year.
Well, that's not really the discussion here about how good he is as a quarterback.
Of course it is. That's the discussion. Is he good enough? Is the juice worth the
risk? He's not good enough.
Is the risk worth the reward?
I see now I'm just going to let you guys dialogue because you're not going to listen to your callers.
Calvin, I want you to respond. Go ahead. I was just going to tell them to be quiet so you can respond. Go ahead.
I just answered the thing about the police thing because I was a police officer. I don't care what people do. I'm going to still service you. But the fact of the matter is this man was a good quarterback, whether he was in the tubes or not. If he beats somebody out that's playing now and a team gives him a chance, he should have the right to play.
I don't have a problem with that, Calvin. I agree with you. My only point is I understand why certain owners of teams do not want him on the team. They feel like it could be a distraction.
I actually work with some police officers who will not pledge to the flag because of their beliefs and other things. I don't care what they do. My job is to make sure I represent this country the way I feel it should be represented.
Calvin, I don't disagree with you, but again, millions and millions of people aren't, the national anthem isn't being played every single day you went to work as a police officer. They are in the NFL. I appreciate the phone call, Calvin. Thank you very much. 25, yes, thank you. I appreciate it. And thank you for your service as a police officer. We appreciate that as well. 257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to Sean. Sean, you're next on the Vegas Take. What do you think about all this?
I was just wanted to make a point about like police brutality and all that stuff. I'm a African American male from Illinois, Central Illinois, not Chicago. It's a little bit different up there. Every time I've been pulled over, there's been a gun pulled out on me every single time. Like, I don't have any felonies. I have no criminal background or anything like that. And I'm from what most would call, a lower income area or
Can
whatever.
I ask you a question, Sean? When you are pulled over, are you complying with police officers?
Oh, every time.
Okay.
My dad taught me, whenever they're right, the person with the gun is right.
Sean, you know what?
That's true.
You know what I would say would be a good response to all this, and I'm sorry that happened to you. I really am, and I believe you. What I believe, body cameras need to be on 24/7. I believe if a police officer turns off his body camera, he should be fired. Body cameras need to be on 24/7. They will protect people like you, and they will protect police officers in the case of fabulous lawsuits. So,
couple of questions, Sean.
Both sides. I've seen where officers they put themselves in the line of fire and all that, and I do respect that. But at the same time, when I, as a law-abiding citizen, I can see where where the protest comes from, because I've experienced it.
Yeah.
And the only time my life's ever been on the line is when somebody in blue with the badge is pointing at me, and then for like something like a sticker or maybe even a speeding thing or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I can understand where the protest comes from. Is basically the point I wanted to make.
Well, and listen, Sean, I understand where the protest is coming from also. And by the way, thank you for the call. I just disagree with the way Colin Kaepernick is going about it. You can protest, you can do stuff like that, but why hasn't Colin Kaepernick gone to Washington? Why has he not spoken to law enforcement? All he's done is insult law enforcement officers. That's not going to change the laws, because what are we really talking about here? What is going to help the relationship between minorities and police officers? Well, number one, let's change some of the laws on the books. And I personally believe a body camera that is on 24/7 with audio and video will, if a police officer is thinking of doing something illegal, that will certainly maybe will change their mind, and then you'll have lawsuits involved, that sort of thing. It also protects police officers. 257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to Megan. Megan, you're next on the Vegas Take.
Hey, I'm just questioning you guys still talking about the Super Bowl and football and how he should have been fired.
Yes.
Yeah.
You still on topic with that? Yeah.
We are.
Absolutely. So you guys have a set of rules there at the radio station where you can only say certain things, correct?
Absolutely.
And
Sure.
Well, you can't use certain words.
Like, for example, if I went on the air and I said a racial slur, a homophobic slur, absolutely, I deserve to be fired.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So he's employed pretty much the way it is, and they have every right if it's not appropriate and it's their lie, or it's basically what they want, pretty much. He has every right to be fired.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you, Megan, and we appreciate the call. Yeah, it's pretty.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it. Yeah, it's pretty cut and dry.
Thanks for the call, honey.
Bob, I want to ask you, was that your wife?
That was my wife.
Oh, hello. I did not know that. Thank you for calling in, Megan. That was very nice. I don't think she's ever called in before. We've been doing this for almost 2 years. Bob, I want you to address that gentleman who called in before her, who says that he gets pulled over at gunpoint and he believes because he's an African American. What would you say to that?
That may be his experience or his impression. Generally, when somebody pulls over a vehicle, if you think it's in a dangerous neighborhood or you can't, the car may be cold registered or any number of reasons. Generally, our policy is to put our hand on our gun, or if it looks really dangerous, take the gun out, holding it behind our leg.
You never know who you're going to be confronted by.
Lean into the car, and if it looks safe, then as you turn to walk back to do whatever you're going to do, you put your gun back in the holster, and the guy never knew it was out.
You ever, I hate to ask you this question, but did you ever have to pull the trigger?
No.
Never. Good for you. And you know what?
Well,
sometimes it's not their fault. Sometimes they're put in situations. See, I think the biggest issue.
And I was going to ask him what kind of car is he driving? How does he typically dress? Does he have let's say dreadlocks, something along those lines? Because I'm sure that could be taken into consideration as well when you're a police officer and you pull over someone of color.
Why should someone wearing dreadlocks ever have to be taken into consideration?
I'm just saying. I'm sure that could be taken into consideration when someone pulls over someone of color.
Why would someone if a police officer takes into consideration?
I don't understand why of color matters. It's pulling over anybody, right? I mean, I don't think
my
of color
personal
should be
opinion.
Is
my personal opinion, and I'm just going to say this, okay? If you pull somebody over as a police officer because somebody has dreadlocks, you're a dumb racist bigot.
I totally agree, but that's why. But it doesn't make any sense why if he has no record at all whatsoever, and say he's driving a
well, it does make sense in some circumstances. There are a small minority of police officers that are racist. It does make sense to me. And sadly, I know, Bob, you don't want to hear stuff like that, but it's just my personal opinion. There's bad apples in every bunch, right?
No, I've already agreed with that. That 2% of any trade.
Yeah, there's bad lawyers.
Is idiots, unless it's lawyers, then it's 5%.
And those police officers,
15%. Then it's 70%.
Yeah, that's true. Well, Bob,
and
listen,
they're all really dumb.
We're up against a break here. Bob, I always appreciate it when you come in studio. Thank you so much for being here. And listen, these issues are not going away, so we'll love to have you in again soon. Thank you so much for being here. We really do appreciate it.
Well, thanks very much for having me.
Yeah,
appreciate
good lively discussion, Bob. It always is here.
Check out firedupwithboberwin.com. That's
Cool.
my blog and website on these issues. Firedupwithboberwin.com.
All right, check it out. Check it out, Bob. Appreciate your time. All right, coming up next, it is former NBA referee Tim Donaghy. He is coming up next. You are listening to the Vegas Take right here on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDON.
Your home for Sean Hannity, KDWN Las Vegas, KKLZ HD2 Las Vegas, a Beasley Media Group station.
Special report. Public impeachment hearings begin.
I'm too busy to watch it. It's a witch hunt. It's a hoax.
President Trump at the White House, while on Capitol Hill, Linda Kenyon says top diplomat to Ukraine, William Taylor, is complaining about irregularities he called crazy.
Under questioning from committee counsel Dan Goldman, Taylor was asked about the quid pro quo that is at the heart of the investigation.
Have you ever seen another example of foreign aid conditioned on the personal or political interests of the President of the United States?
No, Mr. Goldman, I've not.
Goldman then posed the question to Deputy Assistant Secretary of State George Kent.
Is pressuring Ukraine to conduct what I believe you've called political investigations a part of U.S. foreign policy to promote the rule of law in Ukraine and around the world?
It is not.
GOP Senator John Cornyn of Texas says if the president is impeached in the House, he does not believe the Senate would vote to remove him from office. I'm Jan Johnson. President Trump says he's getting positive news from Syria after a U.S. troop withdrawal.
The border is holding very well. The ceasefire is holding very well. We've been speaking to the Kurds, and they seem to be very satisfied.
The president is meeting with his Turkish counterpart this afternoon at the White House, a month after the incursion into northern Syria. Fed Chairman Jerome Powell says he expects a healthy economy to continue to roll on, but that's conditional.
Noteworthy risks to this outlook remain. In particular, sluggish growth abroad and trade developments have weighed on the economy and pose ongoing risks.
Powell also says he does not expect any change in interest rates anytime soon. A new United Nations report is calling on Southeast Asian countries to stop plastics from leaking into the world's oceans. The report says the number
It's
one
time
ocean...
to check the roads in the KDON Traffic Center.
This report sponsored by KFC. I-15 north and southbound at Las Vegas Boulevard, the on and off ramps are closed. This is for ongoing police activity in the area. Again, not the through lanes. Those are open on I-15, but just the on and off ramps north and southbound, they remain closed. And also an accident reported on the 95 northbound approaching Tropicana, vehicle off right. Mix and match any two items out of KFC's famous bowl, pot pie, extra crispy tenders, and crispy kernel sandwich for just $6. It's finger licking good. John Michaels from the KDON Traffic Center.
For more than a year, the whole of Vermont was captivated by the hunt for a runaway golden retriever. Read Catching Murphy, the latest book from the Associated Press. Available now exclusively at Amazon.com.
Hey, have you heard that ransomware attacks have increased by 500% this year?
Yeah, cybercriminals are targeting all types of businesses, encrypting their data and holding it hostage unless they pay up.
What if we're their next victim?
Don't worry, we have Barracuda to detect, prevent, and recover from ransomware and other advanced threats.
So we're secured?
Absolutely. We'll pay no ransom and keep this business up and running.
That's a relief.
Protect your business at Barracuda.com. Barracuda, your journey secured.
Hey.
Hey, Bench, what are you doing?
I'm rubbing my blue emu on.
Were you ready to go fishing?
Fishing?
You said we were going fishing this morning.
I have 10 Gold Glove awards.
Oh, here we go again.
Johnny Bench doesn't go fishing.
Yeah, I know.
Johnny Bench goes catching. Blue Emu supports healthy muscles and joints. Blue Emu. It works fast and you won't stink. Available at nationwide retailers and Amazon.
Shopping for a car? Centennial Toyota's got you covered. We've cut your shopping time in half. Introducing Centennial Toyota's Express Car Buying. Just go online to express.centennialtoyota.com. With our Express store, you can search all the cars, trucks, and SUVs in our inventory. That's over 800 new Toyotas and pre-owned vehicles from every brand. Or configure your dream car, and we'll find it for you. We make it easy to see our best pricing up front. Select your payment options. Get an instant cash offer for your trade-in. And ask questions to our online concierge. Complete the entire transaction from home in a matter of minutes. Then you can pick up the vehicle at the dealership or have it delivered directly to you. Your car will be ready to go, in and out in less than 30 minutes. It's that easy. Try Express Car Buying at express.centennialtoyota.com and come test drive all your favorite vehicles at Centennial Toyota, conveniently located on North US 95 and the 215 Beltway.
Hey, Chuck, I saw on CNN that over 40% of the American population can't cover a $400 emergency expense. Is that true?
The bad news, yes, 100% true. The good news, this is exactly the group of folks we welcome every day at Dollar Loan Center. I can't tell you how many times I've told the critics of our industry to simply walk into a bank and try to borrow a couple $1,000s. Most banks won't even take your application, Craig. We get it at Dollar Loan Center. We're here for you, the real people in Nevada who run into a pinch every now and then.
That was Chuck, founder of Dollar Loan Center, where you can get up to $5,000 in just minutes and have up to a year to pay it back, even if you don't have a checking account. We have over 50 locations and our friendly Dollar Loan Center staff are ready to help. You can also apply over the phone or online at don'tbebroke.com.
Licensed by Nevada Financial Institutions Division. Customer must meet the normal loan qualifications. To review loan qualifications, visit us at don'tbebroke.com. Certain limitations may apply. Loans are subject to approval.
The opinions of the hosts on KDWN are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of this station, its management, or Beasley Media Group. Right now, the day's biggest news stories from a Vegas perspective. This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro.
All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take. Sharp and Shapiro rolling out hour number 3. Chris Wynn also joining us in studio. You know, we talk a little NBA basketball here and there because the season just started just a few weeks ago. And, of course, college basketball season in order. We'll get to UNLV in just a little bit. But I'm sure you guys remember this story, even if you're an avid sports fan. The name is Tim Donaghy. He is a former NBA referee, and now he has relived this officiating scandal where he got involved with the wrong people. He had to go to prison over it, this gambling scandal. Some people say he may have fixed games on purpose. He claims he did not. But certainly he gave information and key information on some of these games. And now there's a new movie out about his life called Inside Game that is out in theaters. Former NBA referee Tim Donaghy right now joining us live on the line. Tim, thank you so much for being here. How are you?
I'm doing great, guys. Thanks for having me.
So, Tim, I got to ask you this. There's not many people on the planet that have had Hollywood movies made after them. You know, I remember I once interviewed Billy Beane, and we remember the movie in regards to Moneyball and Brad Pitt playing him. And I asked him, hey, what's it like, you know, to see someone playing you? So I'm going to ask you the same question. What was it like the first time you saw this movie, somebody actually playing you in your life?
Extremely embarrassing. It was embarrassing in 2007 when I got into trouble, and it's just as embarrassing now to see Eric Mabius play me in the big screen in Hollywood. So it's something where, you know, I definitely made some poor choices and a lot of mistakes, and to keep seeing it over and over again is it's an embarrassing situation.
I would imagine did you get paid for this story at all?
I did not. I wasn't part of writing of the movie. That was done by Tommy Martino. He's the one that helped him out with it. He was a guy that was involved in the whole scandal. I didn't want anything to do with it, and then I was hoping it was going to go away if I wasn't involved, but they kept saying they were going to make the movie with or without me.
Wow.
And they came to my house after it was done, and they showed it to me, and I thought there was a good message in the movie about personal choices and how those personal choices not only affected ourselves, but the people we love the most, and that's our family. So with that being said, and with the profits going to a school that, has physically and mentally challenged individuals, I thought that it was good for me to get on board and do some marketing for it, so I helped them out.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So you walked the red carpet, right, of the movie premiere night and all that sort of stuff. So if somebody asked you 20, 30 years ago that there'd be a movie made about your life as an NBA referee, would you have thought they were crazy?
No doubt. I mean, I would have thought maybe it was something else not to do with the gambling scandal. That's for sure. But again, if I was a guy that could turn back time, I'd be the first one in line, and I'd still be reffing on the NBA courts, running up and down the court with the greatest athletes in the world. But unfortunately, we all know we can't do that.
What is it you miss most about officiating in the NBA?
Being on the court with the rest of the staff. There was guys that were a lot of fun, great to hang out with, and the excitement of officiating in front of 20,000 people. It was played well and gave you the summers off to do whatever you wanted to do with your family. So it was just all around great job.
Now, there are some movies out there that are, say, based on a true story, but then, you talk to some people. I remember the movie Rudy, right? Rudy is one of my favorite sports movies of all time, Tim, and I'm sure it's one of yours as well. The real Rudy Rudiger lives here in Las Vegas, and I've talked to him time and time again about the movie, and he said, yes, some of those scenes didn't happen. It's not all true. Some of it's true, some of it's not true. It's made for Hollywood. So I want to get your take on this movie. Is this largely true to life, or is it not?
I think it's 70 to 80% true. There's a lot of things in the movie that didn't happen. They had me smoking out of a bong. They had me drinking a lot of scotch, which I never drank. I'd be sick for a month if I ever drank scotch. But a lot of little things. They have Tommy Martino getting beat up. So there's a lot of little things. But the crux of the story of the three of us who got together and started to do these things that we shouldn't have been doing, is really what the story is about, and a lot of the choices that we all made and how it affected not only ourselves but our family. So, that part of the story they have, and of course, any movie that they do Hollywood-wise, they always spice it up a little bit.
Sure, no question. If you're just joining us, former NBA referee Tim Donaghy talking about the new movie that's out about his life called Inside Game. Also, he is a professional NBA handicapper now at RefPicks. We'll get to that in a little bit. Okay, Tim, I want to just get your thoughts on the start of the NBA season, right? I mean, this is kind of interesting times for the NBA, but before we get to the actual teams and what's going on out there, you have to have an opinion on what transpired with Daryl Morey with the Houston Rockets and the issue between China and the NBA, the way players handled it, the way the NBA handled it. What did you make of that whole scenario?
It was very strange. I think they should have kept their mouth shut and kept their opinions to themselves, because there's a lot of revenue that's coming in from China, and the bottom line is everybody wants to be able to profit from that revenue, and it looks like now parts of it are going to be pulled from the NBA. So I think that they just would have been better off having an opinion and keeping that to themselves.
Do you think it's a Chris, you got to get
My
your
mic's
mic.
not on.
Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
Tim, do you think it's they're trying to basically keep a balance, right, of not only the whole political side of it, but of course there's the financial side when it comes to the NBA, because so many NBA players and of course the NBA itself have financial interests over there that could very well dictate how they address these political situations.
Oh, 100%. It always comes down to the bottom line of money when you're dealing with the NBA, and we see that time and time again when it comes to playoff series, when they're trying to get the series to go 5, 6, and hopefully 7 games. We saw it several years ago when David Stern did that famous interview when they asked him what would be your favorite matchup for the NBA Finals, and he said the Lakers versus the Lakers. So, it's always the bottom line of global money-rated ratings for the NBA, and that's how it's always going to be.
So I have to ask you this. Perhaps the biggest misconception with your situation was that people say, oh, yeah, that guy Tim Donaghy, he fixed NBA basketball games. And I know you've always said that was not the case. You gave them information based on the officials you were working with, so on and so forth. But can you understand why people would think that you did fix games? And the reason why I say that is because there was a lot of money involved. You were hanging out with a lot of the wrong people. And when you're working a game and you know you're going to be getting paid a certain amount of money if one side comes in rather than the other, I think most logical people would say, well, of course, Tim, it's got to influence some of the calls you made in a game. Like, how could it not? How can you say that you did this game, totally square, knowing everything that was going on behind the scenes? I think that's a fair question, right?
Oh, absolutely, and it's a very valid question. And if I was on the other side, I'd be asking the same thing. But the bottom line is we won at 80, 85% correct, so I was never put in a box where I needed to go out and do that. The NBA and even the FBI did a thorough investigation and said that I never went out there, made a call in the game to make sure a bet won. Phil Scala, the supervisory special agent for the FBI, wrote the foreword for my book, Personal Foul, and said I told the truth at every turn. So, but I get it. I get that people are going to say you had the whistle in your mouth. You were going to get something if the team won. To be honest with you, there were times where I hoped we lost. We won so much, I was afraid red flags were going up all over the place, and we were going to get caught. So a loss here and there really never bothered me.
Well, so you're telling me
it makes it more plausible that it could actually happen.
So you're telling me there were games that you officiated where you looked at the score and you said to yourself, oh, my God, we're going to win this one, too. This is not good for us. Were there moments in games where you actually looked at the score and you thought that?
Not at that time, but definitely afterwards. We won so much, and I was thinking, it'd be good to have a loss thrown in here every now and then because I didn't know how much money they were betting, and I later found out that they were betting hundreds of thousands of dollars, not millions per game, and that's why the lines were moving 4, 5, and sometimes 6 points in Vegas.
Wow. You're like Matt Damon in Rounders when he said, "Hey, you got to go back in there and make it look good, right, with the Russians."
Right, right.
So you're a sports handicapper now with RevPicks.com. I do the same thing. Legalized sports betting. Colorado just legalized about 2 weeks ago. Now there's 19 states of legalized sports betting. When I see a line, I get the indication that either the game, and it just makes zero sense whatsoever. And I'll give you an example of a line right now. Today, the Magic are playing the Sixers. The Magic are favored by 2.5 points. They should not be favored in any circumstances against the Sixers, in my opinion. But when I see a line, I either think that there's something either wrong with the line, there's possibly a rig taking place of some sort, or there's just a crazy matchup between players. Do you see the same thing now as a handicapper?
Oh, absolutely. I think there may be an injury that maybe Vegas is privy to. That the public's not at this point, but for the Magic to be favored by the Sixers, if the Sixers are healthy and have all of their starters playing, is just absolutely ridiculous.
Okay, so I want to, speaking of sports handicapping, I don't want you to give out too much of the information that you have at RefPicks, but I think this is a fair question to ask. Give me an official that you would say you would lean towards always betting the over on, and give me another official working today that you would lean towards an under. Can you do that for us?
Well, I haven't really looked at the officials yet today. I've been doing interviews
in general terms. Yeah.
In general, I mean, you look at a guy like Kenny Mauer, who's one of the top referees in the league, who likes to create a flow to the game where there's an up and down atmosphere, and he really doesn't like to get involved in slowing the game down. He's a guy that if he's with another guy that likes to create a flow like he does, you would go with the over a lot of the time. There's other guys that like to blow the whistle a lot and slow the game down. There's free throws and there's stoppages in play, and there's really not a good flow to the game at times. And you want to go against them if they have another referee on the court in that crew to where they're going to do the same thing. So it's really just seeing what the matchups are crew-wise for the referees in order to do that. It's not any one specific referee, but it's when there's two together or maybe even three together.
So I have an interesting question about that, Tim. You and Brian were just talking about, the impacts of referees on actual games. And I would contend, look, it's about the players, right? The players play the game. They're going to be the one that's dictated. But I had a chance to interview you a couple of years ago when I was at another station, and we brought up a situation, a scenario, let's put it that way, in the playoffs where there's a certain referee, Scott Foster, okay, where, certain things took place in games where, you would tend to lean towards a certain direction when he was in the game. And I was just curious about your thoughts as far as referees being able to dictate it that way.
Oh, no doubt about it. A referee like Scott Foster, when he has a team that really he's not happy with, it maybe have embarrassed him on the floor or have embarrassed him in the newspaper or whatever. We saw, I think there was the Dallas Mavericks where, there was a situation where a lot of those games didn't pan out for Dallas when he was on the floor. There are things that you need to follow and pick up on and go with when those things are happening, because he's a guy that's going to go out there and likes the attention of his name being in the newspaper with that stuff. So he's going to do everything he can do within the rules to enforce the rules and make them go against Dallas when he has that opportunity, or when something can go either way, he's going to make it go against that team that, he's not happy with.
If you're just joining us, former NBA referee Tim Donaghy, new movie out called Inside Game about his life. Also a professional sports handicapper now for Ref Picks. Okay, Tim, what is the worst thing that a player ever said to you on the floor that you can say on the radio, of course, and or a fan? Can you give me an example of maybe a fan getting personal with you that you had to throw out of a game, or something that a player said besides like saying F you or something like that, something that you just had to turn your head and said, wow, I can't believe he said that to me?
Well, I had a situation in Portland where there was a woman sitting in the front row, a very attractive woman, about 30 years old, told me I sucked and threw a full water bottle at me and almost hit me in the head. But other than that, it's tough to repeat what the players say to you when they get mad on radio, something where you don't want the profanity out there. But, Rasheed Wallace, Gary Payton, there's somebody that, of course, will really go after you and use every name in the book to, get back at you if they think that they're not getting the calls they deserve.
Now, you've said in your book, which is a great read, by the way, that there were games where you knew you were going to tee up a guy like a George Karl or Larry Brown. You knew you were going to tee them up with your partners before the game, like right away, right? Can you talk to me about one of those stories?
Sure. I mean, I'll give you an example again with Rasheed Wallace. Everyone knew he was a hothead, so we'd all throw up $20 in the locker room to see who the referee was that was going to give him the technical foul before the other two referees. And if you did it,
that's great.
You scooped up the $60.
So you're sitting there with like a Joey Crawford or a Kenny Mauer. I just want to set the scene here. This is before an NBA basketball game, and somebody says, hey, with your crew, with three guys, somebody throws up $20 and says, hey, I'm offering $20 to the first guy that tees off Rasheed Wallace. I mean, is that the way it worked?
Oh, yeah, but you were the guy that, you felt you were going to win that bet, so you said, I'll get him first. And everyone put up $20, and whoever got him first scooped up the 60. I'll give you one better. There were also times where we all put up $20 to see who could hold out on calling a foul the longest, and bodies would up on the court, people would be hitting across the head, and nobody would be blowing the. We'd be laughing because it's all about who got the $60 in the locker room.
So you're telling me there could be millions and millions of dollars of action on a basketball game, and the reason why you guys aren't calling something early in a game is so you can win that $60 pool. I just find that fascinating. Who is the most difficult player that you've ever had to officiate?
Again, Rasheed Wallace, because on the court, I think his emotions always got the best of him.
Yeah,
his competitive nature was just through the roof. I've since talked to him off the court, away from the game of basketball, and he's one of the nicest guys you could ever imagine. So I think a lot of these guys, their competitive natures just really get the best of them, and they go out on that floor and they just think that they are always getting fouled and never fouling anybody. So it's tough for the referees and the players at some point, to get along.
You're in a room, Tim, with David Stern, mano a mano. You have a conversation with him. How do you think that conversation goes?
It doesn't go good. I think he's an arrogant little prick, to be honest with you. And unfortunately, this whole situation could have been handled much differently than the way it was. I think if Adam Silver was in charge when this all went down, I think we would have sat down and I would have explained to him how I did it and imperfections that they have in their business. But instead, David Stern wanted to paint me as one bad apple,
right,
and put me out there in the media as somebody that did this all by himself when in fact that didn't happen. And even further, Michael Francisi, who is a captain in the Colombo crime family, who has since become a preacher, has said in the 1990s 3 NBA referees were on his personal payroll, and none of them were named Tim Donaghy. So there was a lot of stuff that went on and allowed me to pick these games at 80% correct. And a lot of them were because of the imperfections of the NBA and how they conducted business.
Wow, so you're saying that a lot of this was going on, no one really knew about it, but David, or maybe some people did, but David Stern needed to find a scapegoat, and you were that scapegoat, despite the fact that other refs were probably doing the exact same thing at a higher level and actually with the mob.
No doubt about it, but yet I'm not here to say I didn't do something wrong, because I certainly did, but I just think the whole situation could have been handled much differently.
Tim, it leads me, my question is that, of course, we are now in 2019. What do you think the possibility is that there are still officials out there that are able to get into some nefarious activity when it comes to NBA basketball?
I think it's not going to happen, because I think that they're probably being educated much more now than they did when I was there. I think they can see what happened to me in my life when I did what I did, and they're going to stay away from it. I think the next scandal you're going to see is at the college level, when some of these kids aren't going to go to that next level, and somebody's going to come to them and say, here's 20 grand, you're favored by 15.
Right.
You can still win the game, but just win by 10, 11, 12, 13. Just don't cover the spread, and here's 20 grand. You're never going to the NBA. You're not going to the NFL. And these are kids whose family could use that extra money. I think that's where you're going to see the next scandal.
Do you think that we will see, because I've heard from several actually really good sources that the NBA, or that Vegas is getting an NBA team very soon. How soon do you think that happens, and what team do you think it's going to be?
No, it's going to be one of these teams probably that isn't doing well with the fan base in their city. They're probably going to wait to see how the NFL does in Vegas and how the NHL does in Vegas. And if they're doing good, I'm sure the NBA is going to be right behind them. It's probably going to be one of these smaller market teams that don't really have that global attention, that if you put them in Vegas, they get much more attention for the league.
Tim, last question for you. I want to give you a chance to not only plug your book, which is a fantastic read, by the way. It's a great book. I read it myself. But I also want to give you a chance to plug Ref Picks as well. By the way, I do think your next book should be called The Fat Little Prick. I think that would be a great title.
Solid title right there.
For your next book. But, Tim, all seriousness, give out the information for Ref Picks. How can people find you and pay you to give them some winning picks?
Yeah, I appreciate that. It's refpicks.com, and we have guys that handle each individual sport. And I get back to everyone, even if it's just to give them a little bit of advice if they're using gambling as a form of entertainment, and help them out. And of course, we have the movie Inside Game that's out. It's done very well, and there's a great message in the movie about personal choices. So it was, of course, something I wanted to get involved in at first, but unfortunately for me, it's a story that never seems to die when you talk about having the mob, gambling, the NBA, and everything else that they have in the movie is something that everyone just can't get enough of.
No doubt. Tim, I always appreciate it when you take some time to join this show. Thank you so much, and congratulations on your success over there at Ref Picks. Really do appreciate your time, and hope to have you on again sometime, maybe around when the playoffs come around. Thank you so much.
You got it. Thanks, guys.
All right, there you go.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Tim.
Former NBA referee Tim Donaghy, who it sounds to me doesn't really enjoy reliving his past. And this movie, Inside Game, he's probably done a lot of interviews and he's done a lot of stuff in regards to it. But I'm happy for him, actually, because I don't think he's a horrible guy. I don't. I actually think he's a decent guy who got involved with the wrong set of people.
Well, he's very opportunistic. He took the opportunities when he had them, and his old profession afforded him those opportunities.
Let me ask you this question. Let me ask
a lot of people would do that.
Let me ask both of you this question. Do you believe him when he says he never made a call in any game to influence one of those bets?
No.
You don't think he did?
I'm with JD on this one.
No, I would say no.
Yeah, I'm with JD.
I would say no as well, because it's just the flow of the game, right? I mean, you're an official right there. Brian, you know the deal when it comes to officials and how things transpire during a game. I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, by default, that spread has to be in the back of your mind.
And I hate to call the guy a liar,
well, I think if he says that he did,
then he could have gone to jail for a longer period of time.
It's a crime. I mean, it's a serious crime.
You're telling me you got these mob people behind you. There are tens of 20, 30, 40, 50, 100,000 more than that at stake.
Of course,
and you're
it's
telling
on
me
your
that
mind
didn't.
at that point.
You're telling me that didn't influence any of your calls.
The crazy part was that he mentioned how he basically believes that David Stern made him a scapegoat, despite the fact that other refs were doing the exact same thing at a higher level with the mob, with the family that he mentioned, and that someone had to take the fall for it, and he was the fall guy. I don't think he's ever mentioned that to anybody before.
I will say this, though. I think it was more about his knowledge, right? And it was about the information as far as, the other officials and what was going to transpire as far as, his actual calls in the game that was going to impact what was going to happen as far as, their bets, in my opinion.
I'll say this. If you asked me who would you rather have a drink with, Tim Donaghy or anybody from the Trump family, I would say Tim Donaghy, because I think it'd be a lot more enjoyable to have a drink with. But that's just my opinion. I don't know. But, I'm sure there are some things that we can get from him off the record.
I'll tell you, man, that the Trump family, anyone in the Trump family would have some stories. Donald Trump Jr. would have some stories. Eric Trump would have some stories. I mean, stories that nobody else has. But Donaghy would be great, too. I'd like to have Donaghy in studio.
But to Brian's point, though, about being a nice guy, Scott Wolf, the actor who actually went to the premiere, was talking about this when he watched the movie, and he said, look, they did. These guys did a lot of bad things, but they seemed like all nice guys, right? Yeah. It wasn't like they were all just curmudgeon, just bad people you don't want to hang around with. It was just nice guys that made bad decisions regarding gambling in the NBA.
Because we're up against a break, but what you're talking about, I remember I played in some illegal underground poker games in Manhattan, and a friend of a friend ran one of these poker games, and he said, because he knows I get a little crazy at the poker table, he said, Brian, don't open your trap. I said, why? You got guys packing heat here. These are literally guys that are made guys that have probably killed hundreds of people in their life. Don't say a word. I probably needed to be wearing a diaper at that moment. But the point I'm trying to make is they were the nicest guys in the world. They were giving me high fives when I won a hand. They were asking me about radio. They were the coolest guys in the world.
And that's what Oscar Goodman says when you interview him, right? He says when it comes to the people that are in the mafia, the made guys, they're the nicest guys in the world.
They were the nicest guys. Yeah. Anyway, we appreciate Tim Donaghy taking some time to join us. Coming up next, I know all of you in studio have an opinion on this. It is the UNLV Cal loss last night. I know I certainly do. We're going to break that down. How does UNLV give another game away? Back-to-back games against Kansas State and then Cal. Two games that were very important games for the Rebels. I know it's early in the season, but we're going to break that down coming up next. We got C-Win in studio. It's Winning Wednesdays with C-Win. Maybe he'll give us a winning play. I don't know. Maybe a pick or something like that. I don't know. So we'll get him. And we still got Brian Feldman coming up to break down the Vegas Golden Knights game today. So we're going to take a quick break, and we will be back right after this. You are listening to the Vegas Take right here on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM KDON.
Special report. Public impeachment hearings begin. President Trump says he's too busy to tune in to the testimony from top diplomat in Ukraine, William Taylor, who told lawmakers today that officials, including Energy Secretary Rick Perry, were engaged in some unexpected diplomatic side channels.
I found a confusing and unusual arrangement for making U.S. policy toward Ukraine. There appeared to be two channels of U.S. policymaking and implementation, one regular and one highly irregular.
Taylor also called the idea of holding up military aid for investigations into political rivals crazy. But Republican Congressman Mark Meadows says there's little for the cameras to focus on.
It's reporters and people in the audience who are yawning because this is all about a policy difference between the President of the United States and a few people at the State Department.
GOP Senator John Cornyn says there's almost no chance the Senate would vote to remove the president from office. I'm Jan Johnson.
It's time to check the roads in the KDON Traffic Center.
This report sponsored by KFC. I-15 north and southbound at Las Vegas Boulevard, the on and off ramps are closed. This is for ongoing police activity in the area. Again, not the through lanes. Those are open on I-15, but just the on and off ramps north and southbound, they remain closed. And also an accident reported on the 95 northbound approaching Tropicana, vehicle off right. Mix and match any two items out of KFC's famous bowl, pot pie, extra crispy tenders, and crispy kernel sandwich for just $6. It's finger licking good. John Michaels from the KDON Traffic Center.
Hi, I'm Raymond Denon, Vice President of Optima Tax Relief. If you're in debt to the IRS, there's a lot you need to know. Starting with rule number 1, don't mess with the IRS. They can garnish your paycheck, levy your bank accounts, even take your home or business. That's all true. But it's also true that there's a way out. It's called the Fresh Start Initiative. It's one of the biggest breaks the IRS has ever offered. If you qualify, you could save thousands, even tens of thousands. Nobody knows this program like us, the experts at Optima Tax Relief. We have an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau, and we've resolved over $500 million in tax debt for our clients. We'll stand between you and the IRS and fight to get you the best deal possible. Don't mess with the IRS. For tax help you need, for tax help you can trust, Call Optima for a free consultation.
Call 800-375-2922. 800-375-2922. 800-375-2922.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Warning. This product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. The world is changing. Isn't it time smoking changed too? Vuse Alto is a vapor product offering you a satisfying alternative to cigarettes. Simple to use, surprisingly quiet, and impressively powerful. Our best vapor yet at our best price ever. 99 cents plus tax at participating retailers. 99-cent offer applies to Alto device. Pods sold separately. Underage sale prohibited.
Hi, this is Harvey Blankfeld, host of Las Vegas Real Estate Now. We are saying farewell to Tuesdays at 9 a.m. and moving to Saturdays at 11 a.m. Please do tune in every Saturday at 11 a.m. and learn about real estate right here on the new 101.5 FM, 720 AM KDON, the talk of Las Vegas.
You can expect more from Cox Business. Switch today at coxbusiness.com.
You're in charge of hiring, and Indeed has solutions, like online skills tests, which let a candidate show that they're the right hire. And we give you this toy monkey, which will bang its cymbals when the right resume appears. Okay, there is no monkey.
I said there is no monkey!
But skills tests, that's a for sure.
See why independent research by Silk Road shows Indeed delivers 3 times more hires than any other job site. Visit Indeed.com/promo today and get a free sponsored job upgrade on your first posting. Terms, conditions, and exclusions apply.
Looking for that perfect new piece of furniture for your home? A New Concept Furniture is the place to start and end your search. They'll beat any price on the internet, and they're here locally, so you can feel what you're buying first. Go to A New Concept Furniture today at 4255 South Grand Canyon to see for yourself the slick, modern, shiny store that mirrors our shiny city. A New Concept. Check out their showroom or call them at 702-570-2240. That's 702-570-2240.
Mark Levin, weekdays 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Now back to the Vegas Take on 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDON.
All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. We were just speaking a little bit off the air about our in-studio guest, Bob Irwin. I don't think JD is a big fan. They got
We should have the audio up on YouTube for these in-between segments.
Can I say what
I asked him a couple of questions, and you can say what they are, but I asked him a couple of questions right after the first segment off there, and you're welcome to make those statements.
JD asked him if he thought he was stupid. I wasn't in studio when that question was asked, but I wish it was asked on the air.
I was here. Yeah. I heard the entire exchange.
God, I wish I could.
I'm not going to lie to you. It was kind of humorous from my perspective.
I think Bob almost fell asleep by the way.
It had to be awkward for the two of them, though.
He was 15 seconds away from completely being passed out.
He was surprised. He was totally surprised when you asked the question, JD.
Well,
by the way, he was shocked.
Speaking of being half asleep, the UNLV basketball team did not do much the final 10 minutes of that game last night. I want to talk a little bit about that. Now, as we know, they threw away a game against Kansas State, and I said their offense really was pitiful in most of the stretches of that game. T.J. Altsberger is known for his offense, right? South Dakota State, he's known for his offense. So going into this Cal game, you could make the argument that UNLV had twice the talent as Cal has. Okay, there's one kid on that Cal team that is fantastic, and forgive me, I'm forgetting his name at the moment, but there's one kid on Cal that was just absolutely unstoppable. But other than that, Cal really didn't have anybody that was a prolific scorer, so to speak, and their defense was awful. So here's an example of when I talk about coaching, how you earn your money. And I know it's early for T.J. Altsberger, and we hope he succeeds, and I think it's certainly a step up from Marvin Menzies. There's no question about that. But you earn your money by game time decisions, halftime adjustments, and late game situations. So Mark Fox, I consider him to be a pretty damn good basketball coach. UNLV, by the way, had a chance to get him. And late in the game, UNLV was up like 8 or 9 points. I think it was like maybe 6 or 7 minutes to go. So what does Mark Fox decide to do? He calls a timeout, and he does what a good coach would do. He changes up his defense. What does he do? He moves it to it looked like a trapping zone. I don't think it was a 2-1-2 zone, but it was a trapping type zone on the perimeter. And UNLV, they looked like a deer in headlights. They could not score. I'm not sure they scored more than one field goal the last 4 minutes of the game because he went to a zone. So my question is, number one, how are they not prepared for that? And number two, why is not Amari Hardy not getting the basketball late in that game? So the game goes to overtime. They blow the lead. And you look at what transpired in overtime, it was the same deal. Cal was in a zone. This isn't rocket science here. They went in this trapping perimeter zone defense, and This is basketball 101. This is like 6th grade basketball. To attack a zone, you want to move the ball around the perimeter, but you want to get the ball to the free throw line, to your 4 or your 5. Tillman was at the free throw line. They never passed him the damn ball. And that's why they didn't score. Okay? And this is another game that UNLV let slide, a game that they should have won. And I think it is fair for the first time to criticize the coaching staff, to criticize TJ Otzelberger. I know this team is young. I know, stop it with the rebuilding crap, okay? You're paying TJ $1.1 million a year. Is this the end of all ends? Of course not. It's early in the season, but this is a bad sign when the coach, TJ Otzelberger in this case, is known for his free-flowing offense, and they can't score down the stretch in some of these basketball games. We know that Amari Hardy is a very, very capable player. We saw what Tillman did yesterday. He was an absolute beast.
Hey, Tillman is a plus athlete. He's one of the best athletes in the Mountain West Conference.
So, guys,
Brian.
am I wrong? You guys watched the game as I did. Am I wrong here? What the hell happened?
I'll tell you this, man. This team, this UNLV team, is very, very not deep. They're relatively young. They have games against UCLA, Utah State a couple of times. But if this same schedule were applied to next year's team with David Jenkins and no Mitru Long, this team's going to win 25 games, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I can totally see it. But you look at to your point as far as not being balanced, right, and not having a bench, really.
Yeah, they don't have a bench.
Think about this. All the starters played like 40 minutes plus.
Exactly.
Except for John played 32.
They're tired.
And the bench played like nothing. Nick Blair played 12 minutes. Bryce Hamilton played like 7 minutes. And Bailey played 10 minutes. You got to have more activity. You got to have more contributions from your bench. To your point, JD.
And the thing is, they're not going to this year. They're not going to.
If they're going to be successful, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
if they're going to be successful, you're going to have.
That's why I think this team wins 16, 18 games.
Matt Bradley was the player you're talking about. Dropped 23 last night for Cal.
But he's also a 6'4", 225-pound guard, and Mitru Long is what, 6 foot 190.
Yeah.
So he's just a
bigger guy. And to Brian's point about the talent, right? Yeah, Cal doesn't have the talent. I mean, Brown was decent, and South was okay, but like it's not like
right.
UNLV was definitely the more talented team, and it showed going to that game. I mean, the second half, as you mentioned. By the way, they had numerous chances right late in that second half with leads out extended between 6 and 9 points to put that game away.
I would guess,
or to knock out any top of your right Cal to think that they can come back in that game
on the road. So you lose to Cal by 4 on the road. You lose to Kansas State by 4. Those are two pretty good teams. I think.
Well, I don't think Cal's a good team.
Okay, but
Kansas State is.
They're a Pac-12 team, though. So
yeah,
I mean,
they're a Power 5 team. UNLV is not a Power 5 team. I think this year, betting against UNLV in the second half, you'll make a lot of money because they just do not have the depth to be competitive in that last 5 to 6 minutes.
That's a good point,
and it's not going to change.
You're right. By the way,
but that's not on Otzelberger. That's not on coach. It's on Menzies, in my opinion, for not building out the roster properly.
It is on Otzelberger to not be able to attack a zone to look like a deer in headlights. They were not prepared to attack that zone. You have to move the basketball and get it to Tillman at the free throw line.
Exhausted because they played the entire game.
I'm not going to use that excuse of being exhausted. Look, the bottom line is Cal had their starters in there at the end of the game too. So I'm not going to use that excuse. But guys, to add salt into the wound, Shakir Houston, former Rebel, had an absolute monster game for Oregon yesterday. He had 17 points and 10 rebounds. They had a big win yesterday. Also, Evansville, they're calling it the third biggest upset in the history of college basketball point spreads.
Yep.
They were a money line plus 4,000 yesterday.
Wow, it was that high?
William Hill had them down at plus 4,000. They were a 25-point underdog. Somehow on the road, they find a way to beat the number 1 team in the country, Kentucky.
It's because
was there 4 or 5 Evansville alum that were in town in Vegas? So I'm going to throw a 20 spot down on my squad against Kentucky.
There were a couple of bets at South Point for I think $25 to win the
energy.
So
I can imagine.
Evansville actually has they have a transfer from Arizona State named Sam Cunliffe, who is a 6'6" guard, is a pretty good shooter. When you catch a team like Kentucky, who is all freshmen and sophomore, these are 5-star guys. But when you catch a team that hasn't really played together very long, like Kentucky, early in the season, you got a chance to beat them. But this Kentucky team, their futures are going to go up. They were at 4.5 to 1. They're going to hit about 15 to 20 to 1. I'm going to hit them hard because they're still going to be a Final Four team. They go 9 deep. They have more talent than anybody in college basketball. This loss means nothing. That being said, I think Oregon makes the Final Four. They're actually right now they've got a 5-star kid, a top 10 kid, who is injured, and he comes back in mid-December, along with Houston, Pritchard, and everybody else they have.
I'll tell you guys, though, as a Michigan State fan, though, it was tough to see Kentucky go down
exactly.
because my boys got knocked off by the Wildcats.
And they're playing Seton Hall on Thursday.
Yes.
But Seton Hall has no Powell.
But going back to UNLV, guys, just real quickly. Now they're on the road playing UCLA. UCLA is a much better basketball team than Cal. I think we all can say that. Look, I am going to put some responsibility on the coaching staff. Your team needs to be better in late game situations. They weren't getting good shots. I thought at times they were tentative. I thought, it's one of those situations where you let 2 games get away. Is it the end of all ends? Absolutely not.
Not even close.
Early in the season.
They had 1 turnover in the first 16 minutes. They averaged 19.5 a game the 2 games prior to that. That is unbelievable progression.
In all fairness, though, too, we have been hard on Michu Long, too, the guard. He had a decent
He played
game
well
yesterday. He shot 7-11.
Listen, Long missed a big bucket there at the end of overtime, and I saw he went over to T.J. Otzelberger, and I kind of read T.J. Otzelberger's lips, and he said, you played a hell of a game. And I would agree with T.J. Otzelberger. Long, certainly in his early career as a Rebel, this was his best game, but they really need more of that from him. They need more production from him, and he was very good. I would have liked to have seen Amari Hardy get the basketball a little bit late in regulation and in overtime. He was non-existent.
Hardy didn't play well. He was 6 of 19 from the field.
They needed his offense out there.
That has to change.
And I thought that Cal's defense was pretty weak. I thought UNLV's defense was pretty weak as well. I thought they defended much better against Kansas State. All right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, talk a little Vegas Golden Knights with our man Brian Feldman from Fox Sports Radio. The Chicago team happens to be in town. That would be the Blackhawks. That game is tonight, and the Knights have been struggling lately. So you could make the argument this is a big game for the Knights. They need to get back on the W train. So we'll take a quick break, and I want to get C-Win's pick on this hockey game tonight. It's C-Winning Wednesdays. We got to get some picks from C-Win. So we'll get that coming up, and our friend Brian Feldman from Fox Sports Radio coming up next. And I also have a big giveaway. Do I have this giveaway in front of me? Yes, I do. I want to do it right now. I care about you guys. I care about my listeners very much. Even if you hate me, I still love you. I'm feeling like I want to just spread love across all of our listeners all across Las Vegas. So here's what I'm going to do. Right now, I have a pair of tickets to Lee's Discount Liquor's 17th Annual Wine Experience. This features over 1,000 wines from around the world. It's going to be at the Thomas & Mack Center this Saturday. And I'll tell you what, this is like an open bar for 2 hours. So here is the number to call. We are going to take the 5th caller right now at 702-257-5396. Again, the 5th caller right now at 702-257-5396. I am going to hook you up with a pair of tickets to Lee's Discount Liquor's 17th Annual Wine Experience. You have to be 21 or over, and you have to pick up your prize no later than Friday, November 15th, which is obviously this Friday. Again, this is Saturday. 5th caller right now, you get your hookup. It's pretty much an open bar for a number of hours. Just drink responsibly. That's all we ask. 5th caller right now, 257-5396. I am going to hook you up with a pair of tickets to Lee's Discount Liquor's 17th Annual Wine Experience. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to be back right after this with our friend Brian Feldman. You're listening to the Vegas Take on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDON.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, Protect My Car is announcing a low-cost extended service plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay nothing for auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay nothing for auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-715-5137 now. Drivers who are covered by Protect My Car will not have to pay for a covered repair bill again. This auto coverage is at an all-time low, much lower than what dealerships are charging. Additionally, drivers who activate this auto coverage today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and free car rental at no additional cost. Call Protect My Car for your free quick quote today. 800-715-5137. 800-715-5137. What do you have to lose? Again, 800-715-5137.
Does your child love math? Do they just love math so much that once they finish their homework, they want to work on extra math problems just for fun? Anyone? If you answered no, then you are not alone. While your child may not think math is important for their future, we know better. That's because Infinity the Math Institute offers the best math tutors in Las Vegas, produces the best results at the best prices for kids of all ages. Infinity the Math Institute does it all. Does your child need prep for the SATs? Right now, SAT preparation classes in November are just $15. Fractions, algebra, geometry, decimals, you name it. Plus, Infinity offers homeschool programs, free seminars for parents and students. And whether your child is transitioning from elementary school to middle school to high school, or preparing for college, Infinity can help. Classes are filling up. Call us now to find out more. 702-768-1777. That's 768-1777. You want the best results for your child? One call to Infinity can have a huge impact on your child's future. Call now, 768-1777. Tell them the Vegas Take sent you.
Mark Levin, weekdays 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Now back to the Vegas Take on 101.5 FM, 720 a.m. KDON.
All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro, wrapping up our number 3. And for those of you that were unable to win that amazing Lee's Discount Liquor prize, I will be giving out some more tickets the rest of the week, so stay tuned for that. So as I mentioned, the Las Vegas Golden Knights have been on a little bit of a skid, gentlemen, right? Have they not? I mean, particularly that game against the Red Wings.
A little bit.
That Red Wings game was really tough.
It's been rough.
Tough pill to swallow.
Yeah.
So now they're back home after this little road trip. And the Blackhawks, I wouldn't call the Blackhawks a great team, but they're a capable team. They're not a horrible team.
No.
And they come into town, and the Vegas Golden Knights are a pretty heavy favorite, minus 220, depending on where you shop. Max Pacioretty said it's time for in-your-face hockey. That's what he said yesterday. So I expect the Knights will be ready to go today. Joining us right now on the line, he is host of Out of Line on Fox Sports Radio, a friend of the show, a friend of ours. That would be Brian Feldman. Brian, thanks for joining us. How are you?
What's up, Brian?
Hey, what's going on, Brian? Doing great, man. How are you guys doing? Enjoying the show?
Thank you.
Doing well.
Appreciate it. Okay, so Brian, the Knights have been struggling as of recently, and this is a skid that we're not used to them going on, right? They're usually a pretty consistent team. I would imagine that the coaching staff not too happy about this. So what do you make of this game tonight, and what would you make of this skid that they've been on and some of the mistakes they've been making, particularly late in third period of these games?
Well, first and foremost, their offensive output has not been what we've expected of it at all. And there are just lapses. You see them at times, 10-minute lapses where, using a hockey cliche, they're like skating in wet cement. And I don't understand it, because they definitely have the skill level to be a lot better than they are. Chicago, a very winnable game. You know, a team that's, I think, about 500. I think they're 4-4-2 in their last 10 games. A winnable game tonight. And they need to win this game. It's at home. They've got to win it. Four of 5 games they lost in this last road trip. And, yeah, Brian, they are really struggling a lot. And one thing we definitely know, I'll tell you what, and Chris and Jace could probably agree with this as well, if it wasn't for Marc-Andre Fleury, when he, where would this team be? Would they even be in the playoff picture right now? Because there are so many times this guy has saved them in the few games that they've won that you start thinking they're getting ready to move on pretty soon from Marc-Andre Fleury. What has he got? 1 more year left? What's this team going to do?
Yeah, if that.
And we don't know, by the way.
I think he's actually getting slower. I mean, he looks he looks much slower than he's looked the last 2 years. He's definitely slowing down a little bit.
And by the way, I haven't heard 100% yes or no if Alex Tuch is going to be in the lineup tonight. We know he did practice yesterday. Brian, do you know if he's going to be in the lineup tonight?
I wouldn't expect him to be, from the things that I've heard. Of course, my producer, the locker room insider guy, and I don't know that he's ready to come back yet. And I mean, he has logged, about a period of ice time this season so far. So they desperately need his length and his prowess back in the lineup, just to try to get the lines right. But, I don't even know if that's going to make a difference, Brian, if Alex Tuch is the X factor in this team. Somehow this team has to mesh and play well together. And I'm telling you, I'm starting to look at some of their off-season moves and letting guys like Eric Howell, who's having a tremendous season, are wondering if they put their money in the right place. Because like a guy like Brandon Perry, we've always known what he was. He was a guy that scores goals, but is not a two-way player. He's not going to help you out on the defensive end of the ice very much, and yet they gave him a contract and let a guy like Howell go. I was kind of surprised at that, and I think those moves might be biting them a little bit right now. And I think to see the Golden Knights improve, what I'm looking at, they have got to make some moves and maybe get rid of some guys that people like here a lot to get some players in, especially on the defensive end of the ice, that can help this team out.
So, Brian, of course, we know dealing with Gerard Gallant, he's a guy that doesn't pull any punches. He's pretty much straightforward when it comes to what his team and what their output has been. And he has talked about, look, they've just had mental lapses late in games that have cost them, particularly, obviously in these last 4 matchups on the road. But how much do you put it on Turk and the rest of the coaching staff with what's transpired over here as they return home from just a very rough road trip?
Chris, you always got to talk about the coaching staff. It is the X factor. That's the one intangible I think that makes great teams great and makes great teams average is your coach. And I don't want to use a guy that's not real popular amongst a lot of people in Bill Belichick in the NFL, but he consistently wins. You look back to their first Super Bowl, and there's only two constants, and that's Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. And yet they've been a team of over 2 decades now. So I think coaches make a tremendous difference, and I really like what Turk did initially. I think George McPhee in orchestrating the deals that he made to put this team together was magical. But I think now it is on Turk and the coaching staff, Chris, to put this team together and figure out lines that are going to work. And maybe, just because that line of Marchessault and Carlson and Smith has been so effective in that first year that you just don't want to let go of it. But maybe you got to mix it up. You got to maybe look at moving Cody Glass to a different line where he's more complimentary. Maybe get Statsky off the Stone and Pacioretty line and put him somewhere else. But the bottom line is you've got to do something and mix it up. And, Chris, the players are there. And I really believe that if you look at, on paper, the players on the Vegas Golden Knights, they are among the top 5 teams in the NHL.
Yeah, they're outstanding. And Alex Tuck is actually playing tonight. Chris Chapman.
He is.
Chris Chapman just announced it on Twitter. Magnus announced it on Twitter.
Mags.
I like the Knights to blast the Blackhawks tonight. I like them puck line. They're minus 240. They're minus 240 money line. I like them to just crush the Blackhawks.
What are the odds on the puck line?
Probably minus 105 or minus 115, something like that.
And Brian, you brought up Cody Glass. I believe Cody Glass got sent down, right, to the Wolves. So he's going to be. What do you think about that? I don't know. I think it's kind of I like the young guy. I think he's a guy that can be, a top line scorer in this league. Do you think it was too quick to send him down? We're still early on in the season.
Yeah, I don't know if he wasn't a fall guy or a scapegoat, Chris, and I agree with that. That's why I was saying maybe even mix up that line with Marchessault, Carlson, and Smith, and try him out there with some real good complementary players. Because the one thing with Cody Glass is, he's got to put some bulk on. He's got the NHL size and height, but he's got to put some weight on his body. But to play with other finesse players like, say, Smith and Carlson or Marchessault, any of them could do him wonders to play on that line, because those guys are such precise passers. And, people say, you don't want to upset the chemistry. What chemistry? We're losing.
Yes.
The Vegas Golden Knights are losing, so there's not chemistry right now. You got to reinvent chemistry, and that does mean mixing things up. But to answer your question about Cody Glass, I was surprised that he got sent down, because he really started off very, very productively at the beginning of the season.
All right, so let me, if you're just joining us, by the way, Brian Feldman from Fox Sports Radio. It does a show Out of Line every Sunday morning. I believe it is 8 a.m., Brian, if memory serves me right.
Too early.
Yes, it is. That is very, very, very early. Particularly, I know you're a party animal and you go out on Saturday nights all the time.
That's not true at all.
Yeah.
That's
But he goes out with
I've been known to
supermodels every
venture
night.
out with Mr. Feldman on occasion. And yes, it is a very festive type of atmosphere when I hang out with the gentleman.
He goes out with supermodels every night. It's
does.
unbelievable. Anyway, Brian,
As long as I take my Geritol in the morning, I'm good.
Right.
All right, so I want to get picks from everybody in the studio. Brian, I want to start with you, and let me just give my personal pick on tonight's game. I'm going to agree with JD. I think the Knights win. I think they win big. I'm going to give a score of 4-1. I'm going to say Knights win 4-1. Brian, what do you say?
It's an awfully tough thing based on the way they're playing and the way they lost that game in Detroit. Losing another game late in the third period. It's hard to say that the Vegas Golden Knights are going to blow them out, and I'm hoping I'm not being a homer by saying this. I think the Knights will win this game, too. I think it'll be a little bit closer than you guys think, because I think the Knights are going to be pressing to win. And a lot of times when you press, you open yourself up for bad goals, and they might give up one or two of those tonight. But I think they'll win, but I think it'll be a close one. I'm going to say 3-2 Knights.
JD?
5-1 Knights, under 6.5 goals.
Chris?
Is it determined that Marc-Andre Fleury is between the pipes tonight? He's going to be the guy there? If he's going to be the guy there, then I say...
I am 90% sure he'll be...
Yeah, he'll probably be the starting goaltender. So I'm going to go 3-1 Vegas Golden Knights. I say, we get a goal from Riley Smith. We get a couple from Jonathan Marchessault. And Marc-Andre Fleury has a game where it's kind of like set things right game, right, where they get a victory. Not a blowout by any stretch, but they do get the W against the Blackhawks.
I also like the Philadelphia Flyers against the Capitals tonight.
Really? Right. Are we going to the game tonight, fellas? Are we all going to be there?
We're all going to be there.
I'm going to try to go.
All right.
Hey, well, I won't be, but guys, and if you don't mind, I mentioned it. The reason I won't be, because I'd definitely be at this game. I think it's a pivotal game for the Knights. They've got to get off the snide.
What do you got going on tonight?
I'm going to be at Buffalo Wild Wings out at 6640 North Durango, the 215 in North Durango. That's not the one off Warm Springs in Durango. It's way up, just past Hualapai at that Durango, up by Centennial Hills Hospital. And we're doing a Vegas Golden Knights watch party, Brian. We're giving away lower bowl tickets to the Vegas Golden Knights today. So if you don't have a ticket to this game and you want to get one to the next one, come on down to Buffalo Wild Wings tonight. I'll be down there. We're giving away free wings. We got a ton of Vegas Golden Knights bling that we're going to be giving away. Real cool stuff. We've even got the batons tonight, the lighted batons. Everyone's going to get at Buffalo Wild Wings to wave during the game and goals. And like I said, I'll be hamming it up out there. But the most exciting thing is we are giving away Vegas Golden Knights tickets. And even though they're losing, even though they might not be where we want them to be this year, it's still one of the hottest tickets in town.
All right, Bri. Well, I appreciate you coming on and breaking down this game tonight. And by the way, I've been to plenty of those remotes you got going on. They are a lot of fun, my friend, and I appreciate you coming on and have some fun out there at Buffalo Wild Wings. Appreciate you taking the time.
Thanks, Brian.
Love the show, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Brian.
There you go, Brian Feldman. Check him out, Buffalo Wild Wings. Going to be a good time. Hey, who wouldn't want lower bowl tickets to the Knights? They are extremely expensive. You okay over there, C-Win? It looked like you were convulsing.
That is a good ticket.
I didn't want to shatter my phone. I didn't want to set it up.
It kind of fell out of his hands.
I was juggling over here for a minute.
Kind of like the fumble by Jared Goff that wasn't actually a fumble. That was an incomplete pass that destroyed my Rams parlay this weekend.
Don't get me started on Jared Goff. He killed me on my fantasy game.
So, guys,
rocked me.
I hate to dampen the mood here.
5 Gs.
I hate to dampen the mood here, but there are these impeachment hearings that are going on. I don't know if you heard. We are certainly going to monitor them throughout the day today. We will break everything down for you tomorrow, I promise you. Also tomorrow, Mike Babcock from TMZ Sports as he joins us every Thursday to break down the latest on pop culture when it comes to sports. And, the bottom line is if you watch Fox News tonight, everyone's going to be going after the credibility of these witnesses. If you watch CNN tonight, everyone's going to be saying how damning this was for the president. There's no middle ground.
And they want it that way because that makes them the money. Isolating you, it makes them the money, gets them the ratings.
We try to be honest. We try to be honest on the show as much as we can. At least I know I try to be, even though I am not a Trump supporter. So we're going to break everything down for you. What does it mean for the president of the United States? What does it mean for Republicans? What does it mean for Democrats? We will break down all that information. C-Win, what do you got going on today?
We got a little Vegas Golden Knight action tonight, so I'll be looking forward to that. Also some college basketball action, some NBA action we'll be checking out throughout the night, as well as watching Mr. Kent with his bow tie and the impeachment hearings.
I got to give Tim Donaghy a call and find out who he likes tonight. If he knows anybody out there that's officiating these games tonight, I got to get some picks from Tim. Hey, if you missed anything, check us out on our YouTube page, The Vegas Take. Also on our Twitter page at The Vegas Take. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody. I want to thank all my guests, Bob Irwin, Tim Donaghy, and, of course, C-Win for taking the time to join us as well. We're going to take a 21-hour break. See you bright and early tomorrow morning, folks. Everybody have a great afternoon. Sean Hannity coming up next.
Kilmeade, Hannity, Levin, 101.